Chapter 3368. Zhao Ritian, what are you trying to do? Stop. I order you to stop. Ling Xiao roared angrily. His voice was filled with anxiety. He seemed to have realized what Zhao Ritian was trying to do and wanted to stop him. However, Ling Xiao realized helplessly that he could not do anything. Zhao Ritian's bones were crystal clear as if they were cast from gold. The golden glow formed Ling Xiao's bones. Zhao Ritian's blood, flesh, and meridians were like a bloody mist. They shrouded Ling Xiao's body and gradually gathered together to form Ling Xiao's physical body. The chaotic light rose and the 3,000 origins of the great Tao intertwined and poured into Ling Xiao's body, forming a flawless physical body for him. Most importantly, Ling Xiao could not stop it at all. Zhao Ritian's bones, flesh, blood, and origin seemed to be of the same origin as Ling Xiao. They imprisoned his primordial spirit within and formed a supreme physical body for him. In the void, only Zhao Ritian's indestructible primordial spirit was left. The dazzling indestructible primordial spirit looked mysterious and unfathomable. It was like an illusory Zhao Ritian. He looked at Ling Xiao with an inexplicable gaze. This time, you won't abandon me. Zhao Ritian turned around and looked at Ling Xiao. His eyes shone with an inexplicable light and the corner of his mouth was full of smiles. He took a deep look at Ling Xiao, then turned around and left. Rumble! Dazzling flames rose around his body and emitted a strange eternal light. His entire body seemed to have turned into a dazzling rain of light. There was a shocking amount of energy bursting out from it. 3 lives of reincarnation, endless growth and multiplication. With my primordial spirit, I shall fall into eternal oblivion. Zhao Ritian's voice was ancient and mysterious. At the same time, it contained an indescribable determination. It exploded in the void. No! Ling Xiao's eyes turned bloodshot in an instant, and he let out a wild roar. 2 streams of blood flowed out from his eyes. He seemed to have broken free from some kind of imprisonment. His primordial spirit and physical body merged into one and a destructive aura exploded. However, it was too late. Rumble! Zhao Ritian was like a dazzling sun that exploded in an instant. Vast and eternal light swept out in all directions, as if it could destroy everything. In an instant, it collided with the 3 generations of nirvana light. Heaven and earth seemed to shatter in an instant. Boundless chaos shuddered as the space-time twisted. A terrifying ripple swept across 100 million miles, causing the martial emperors who were 100 million miles away to tremble violently. They spat out mouthfuls of blood while their eyes were filled with astonishment. If the aftershock from billions of miles away was already so terrifying, then what kind of scene would it be at the center? Crack! Zhao Ritian was like a moth flying into a flame, exchanging his life for endless power. Even though the 3 generations of nirvana light was extremely powerful, it was still weakened by more than half. Boom! Within Ling Xiao's body, there seemed to be an ancient and mysterious power awakening. The divine light around him blazed, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Terrifying waves of energy erupted, transforming into an unparalleled fist that instantly soared into the sky. Chaos filled the air, and the 3,000 worlds appeared, reinforcing Ling Xiao's body. It was terrifying to the extreme, and in an instant, it collided with the 3 generations of nirvana light. The illusory 3 generations of nirvana light was blasted apart by Ling Xiao's fist. Rumble! The 3 generations of nirvana light tribulation was like glass shards. Light rained down and blended into Ling Xiao's body, illuminating the heavens and earth as though it was daytime. Ling Xiao's white hair fluttered in the wind. His body was bathed in blood, and his eyes were filled with tears of blood. Drop by drop, they fell like lightning, causing the chaotic void to tremble. Ling Xiao did not know why he was crying, but the grief and roar that came from the depths of his soul, and the pain of being torn apart spread throughout his body. It was as though he had lost the most important person in his life. Ling Xiao had passed the 3 generations of nirvana light tribulation, which also meant that he had passed the transcendence tribulation. Above the 9 heavens, the purple eye was filled with unwillingness. However, as though it did not dare to disobey some kind of law of the heavens and earth, it slowly dissipated. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by dazzling light. It was as though two figures had appeared behind him, wanting to completely merge with him. Ling Xiao half knelt in the void, his expression blank, allowing the tears of blood to fall. He remained silent. Zhao Ritian had completely disappeared. Not a single trace was left behind. He had offered his bones, flesh, blood, and origin of the great Tao to Ling Xiao. Then he sacrificed his own primordial spirit, burned his own life, and even used the power of the 3 generations of reincarnation to withstand the fatal blow of the 3 generations of nirvana light tribulation for Ling Xiao. His soul had scattered. To be precise, he had been completely wiped out. From then on, there was no trace of Zhao Ritian in the world. Father, did Brother Ling Xiao pass the transcendence tribulation? Luo Luo asked emotionally and sorrowfully. She knew the relationship between Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian. Therefore, she was extremely sad about Zhao Ritian's death. The 3 generations of nirvana light tribulation was extremely terrifying. After paying an extremely painful price, Ling Xiao had passed it. In other words, Ling Xiao should have become a true transcendent. He has passed the transcendence tribulation, but his current state is very strange. The reincarnation emperor's eyes lit up as he said slowly. He did not know that Ling Xiao was a heavenly emperor in his previous life. Therefore, the reincarnation emperor was extremely surprised that Ling Xiao had such a reaction when Zhao Ritian died for him. It was as if he had fallen into the abyss. However, after Ling Xiao passed the transcendence tribulation, he seemed to have chosen a different path. He doesn't seem to want to transcend immediately. He wants to merge the 3 bodies. However, how can it be so easy to merge the 3 bodies? What is he trying to do? The reincarnation emperor could not understand Ling Xiao. His eyes flickered with uncertainty as he frowned deeply. Merge the 3 bodies? Why would he do that? Luo Luo was also shocked. I don't know. However, according to the records in the ancient books, merging the 3 bodies seems to give one more powerful strength. However, merging the 3 bodies will not allow one to transcend. If one wants to transcend, it will be difficult to merge the 3 bodies. This seems to be a paradox. Why would Ling Xiao do that? The reincarnation emperor was also filled with doubts. Ling Xiao had passed the transcendence tribulation. As long as he took the next step, he would be able to transcend completely. However, Ling Xiao did not seem to have chosen to take the last step. Instead, he wanted to merge the 3 bodies. This decision was puzzling. Won't Brother Ling Xiao's current state allow others to take advantage of him? Luo Luo asked worriedly. That's right. If a great emperor sneaks up on him, he will also die. Although I don't know why he would make such a choice, I'm afraid it has something to do with Zhao Ritian. The Samsara emperor said slowly with a meaningful look in his eyes. Luo Luo's eyes were filled with worry. She pondered for a moment and suddenly seemed to have made a decision. Father, can I stay here and protect Brother Ling Xiao until he wakes up? I'm afraid not. The reincarnation emperor shook his head and said, You should know that Dark World can't leave us. We have already made an exception by coming out for so long. Hurry up and go back. As for Ling Xiao, there will be someone to protect him. The reincarnation emperor looked at the chaotic void in the distance and seemed to be hinting at something. Alright. Luo Luo's eyes were filled with worry. However, when she heard the reincarnation emperor mention Dark World, her face showed signs of struggle. In the end, she nodded her head reluctantly and agreed. In the distance, many experts in the Eldritch continent were watching Ling Xiao go through the transcendence tribulation. Seeing that Zhao Ritian's soul had been completely destroyed in the 3 lives nirvana tribulation, and Ling Xiao's white robes and white hair were completely wiped out, everyone was shocked. Although they would have to go through the transcendence tribulation to completely transcend after snatching the myriad Dao golden core, there was still a chance, right? They were all tempted by the offer. Who wants to check on Ling Xiao's current situation? Someone suggested. However, everyone's expression changed as they rejected the suggestion. That was Ling Xiao, a ruthless person who had killed many great emperors. Who would dare to seek death now? Even if they suspected that something was wrong with Ling Xiao, no one dared to test it out. If he incurred the wrath of Ling Xiao, he would probably die a graveless death in an instant. After all, Ling Xiao had already passed the Transcendence Tribulation. As long as he merged with the Myriad Tao Golden Core and became a Transcendent, Ling Xiao would be the absolute ruler of the Eldritch mainland in the future. These great emperors were indeed fake great emperors. Compared to the real eternal great emperors, they were like ants. In the end, many of the experts gradually dispersed. However, there were still some who were unwilling to give up. They spied from afar, wanting to check on Ling Xiao's situation. At this moment, a figure floated over and appeared beside Ling Xiao. When they saw that figure, the expressions of the crowd in the distance changed. Chapter 3369. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. The figure was dressed in white and had a slender figure. He was a handsome middle-aged man and his entire body exuded an ancient and mysterious aura. No one expected the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain to appear. Although the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, he is the sacred mountain of the human race. He achieved his Tao in the ancient era and has a long lifespan. His true combat strength is not weaker than the great emperor of the epic. One of the great emperors looked at the Emperor Lord of Kunwu Mountain with fear in his eyes. Some people were tempted to make a move, but they had completely given up. With the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain protecting Ling Xiao, they did not dare to act rashly. Let's see how Ling Xiao is doing first. If he has not transcended, even the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain will not be able to resist the wolves. Someone said faintly. His eyes were filled with a blazing light. Obviously, no one was willing to give up on the Myriad Tao Golden Core. They did not have the chance before, but now that the four great emperors had left, the textless heavenly book's weapon spirit and the flowing time great emperor had disappeared, Ling Xiao seemed to be in a bad state. As for Ling Xiao, he seemed to be in a very strange state, as if he had suffered an irreversible injury. Naturally, everyone coveted the Myriad Tao Golden Dan, and all of them became restless. Although you have paid an unbearable price for this tribulation, you have still survived the Transcendence Tribulation. But why did you make this choice? Is it because of Zhao Ritian? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain sighed softly and his eyes were filled with uncertainty. Ling Xiao seemed to have completely returned to the void and there was no sign of life in him. However, there were two mysterious figures behind Ling Xiao. One of them was from the future and the other was from the past. They were both mysterious and extraordinary and they seemed to be merging with Ling Xiao at this moment. It was also extremely dangerous to fuse the bodies of three lives. It would be fine if the next incarnation and the previous incarnation were not that strong, but if the next incarnation and the previous incarnation were incomparably strong, then the consciousness of the current incarnation would probably be erased. It would be hard to say who would be the dominant one. Not to mention, the afterlife that Ling Xiao had fused with was an invincible transcendent being. It was as if he was a demon that had killed his way out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. His strength was terrifying to the extreme. And in his previous life, he was the totem and faith of the human race, the supreme celestial emperor. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had a vague guess that Zhao Ritian was the reason why Ling Xiao wanted to merge the three bodies. After all, he was the celestial emperor in his previous life, the father of Zhao Ritian. Now that Zhao Ritian had died for him, Lin Fan wanted to fuse with everything from his previous life. Even if he could only leave behind some memories, it would be something he could do for Zhao Ritian. Ling Xiao, this world is about to change completely. I hope you can wake up soon. Otherwise, everything will be too late. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly with a worried look in his eyes. With a wave of his sleeve, a stone table appeared in the void with a few teacups. He sat down in the chaotic void and began to drink by himself. He appeared to be very relaxed. On the other hand, Ling Xiao's body was emitting a faint light. It was as if he had already died without any signs of life. Rumble! As if the chaos had been opened, a dazzling light bloomed. Time and space began to distort as countless memories rushed towards Lin Fan. Ling Xiao seemed to have returned to the ancient times and saw some scenes of the past. At that time, the human race was still living in tribes. They wore beast skins and hunted, fishing, and herding for a living. Although they could absorb the energy of heaven and earth to cultivate, there were only a few people who could embark on the path of cultivation. The demon race was extremely cruel. They fed on the human race and constantly robbed the human race of their lives, causing endless massacres among the human race. That was the history of the human race's resistance and humiliation. It was filled with blood, tears, and hatred. However, at that moment, a young man was born in a tribe in the wilderness. Since the day that young man was born, Ling Xiao seemed to see that the human race had become a little different. Ling Xiao saw that the young man grew up in the wilderness and began to come into contact with martial arts. Then he displayed extraordinary talent and his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. Later on, he left the tribe and tested his sword against the heroes of the world. Gradually, he stood out and became a shockingly talented genius of the human race. He ascended to the 9 heavens, entered the 9 underworlds, barged into forbidden lands, entered secret realms, and constantly competed with countless geniuses. He even fought against the demon race's experts. That was a legend. Although he was a bystander, Ling Xiao seemed to have transformed into that young man. He followed the young man's emotions, followed the young man's sharpness, followed the young man's anger, and felt his blood boil. Later on, the young man roamed the world and saw the misery and humiliation of the human race. He saw the ferocity and coldness of the demon race. He saw the human race weakened and became food for the demon race. He also saw the demon race as the ruler of an era. Their demonic might was unparalleled and they swept the world. From then on, he was determined to fight for the human race. With this belief, he used his supreme willpower, wisdom, courage, and boldness to improve his cultivation by leaps and bounds. In the end, he became the strongest expert of the human race. He was about to take that step and prove his Tao to become an emperor. Only by proving his Tao to become an emperor could the human race change the situation of being wantonly slaughtered by others. Only by proving his Tao to become an emperor could the human race have great hope and possibilities. However, the demon race would not allow such a monstrous genius to exist in the human race. Even the experts of other races coveted the young man's talent. They wanted to capture him and enslave him. None of this was taken seriously by the young man. In the end, he reached the peak of the human race's sacred mountain and proved his Tao to become the first emperor of the human race. Countless utmost powerful beings had arrived. The demon race had sent out a few great emperors, wanting to wipe him out entirely. The entire human race was filled with sorrow. Everyone thought that the young man would die. After all, such a powerful force was enough to wipe out the entire human race. It was enough to kill a great emperor. The young man had not proven his Tao. How could he withstand such a terrifying attack? That battle broke out. Ling Xiao saw that the young man faced the gods and demons in the heavens. Facing countless cruel and cold eyes, he was calm and composed. He was filled with strong confidence and battle intent. He fought while bathed in blood. In the endless lightning, he exploded with shocking battle strength. He slaughtered all the attacking great emperors. In the end, he stepped on the endless corpses and proved his Tao to become an emperor. He was called the Heavenly Emperor. I am the Celestial Emperor. I will suppress all enemies in the world. This was the Celestial Emperor's vow to the heavens and the entire human race when he proved his Tao. It was full of pride. The human race was excited by the birth of the Celestial Emperor. Many elders of the human race cried tears of joy, silently praying that there was hope for the human race. The thousands of races in the heavens, including the most powerful demon race, were shocked and angry because of the birth of the Celestial Emperor. They were all filled with disbelief. They could not imagine why the Celestial Emperor was so strong. Although the Celestial Emperor had proven his Tao, they still did not give up the idea of killing him. They sent out experts several times to hunt him down. However, they were killed by the Celestial Emperor time and time again. In the process, the Celestial Emperor became stronger and stronger, and the human race became more and more prosperous. In the end, under the leadership of the Celestial Emperor, the human race drove the demon race out of the god realm. They completely occupied the center of the heavens and became the master of the god realm. Countless experts of the demon race, and even the demon emperor, were terrified. The Celestial Emperor dominated the heavens and suppressed countless powerful enemies. No one dared to go against him. Even when they heard the name of the Celestial Emperor, they would lose some of their courage. The Celestial Emperor was the totem of the human race. He was the spiritual belief of the human race. It was because of the existence of the Celestial Emperor that the human race saw hope and saw the future. At this time, the Celestial Emperor also had a son. He personally named him Dihao. Dihao was bright. This was the hope for his son, and also the hope for the future of the human race. Seeing the Celestial Emperor's son, seeing the child who looked very similar to Zhao Ritian, even Ling Zhao's heart could not help but tremble. He felt an inexplicable pain and affection. It was as if they were connected by blood. Dihao's appearance seemed to have brought hope to the human race. Countless people praised him and saw him as the successor of the Celestial Emperor. Countless human geniuses wanted to become his followers, and many people sent him all kinds of treasures. All of the human race seemed to want to give the best things to the son of the Celestial Emperor. And Dihao did not disappoint everyone as expected. He possessed the most powerful Celestial Emperor bloodline. His mother was also the human race's holy maiden. His talent was peerless and incomparably heaven-defying. When he was young, he already possessed combat strength that far surpassed his peers. Everyone thought that Dihao would become the second Celestial Emperor of the human race. At that time, the human race's two Celestial Emperors would shine together and become the true epic lord, sweeping across the heavens and being invincible. But at this time, a traitor appeared in the human race. Dihao's mother, the human race's holy maiden, and Dihao were all captured by the fiend race. The Celestial Emperor went crazy. Although countless people advised him not to enter the fiend world, this must be the fiend race's great conspiracy to target the Celestial Emperor. But for his wife and son, the Celestial Emperor resolutely decided to kill his way into the fiend world. When he left the human race, he left behind a sentence. I, Dihao, know that I'm very willful this time. But please let me be willful this time. I must save them. Everyone in the human race fell silent. Many human powerhouses, each and every one of their eyes were blood red. Their baleful aura surged to the sky. They wished they could follow the Celestial Emperor and kill their way into the fiend world. But the Celestial Emperor strictly ordered that no one was allowed to enter the fiend world. Moreover, the divine world activated a supreme formation, enveloping the entire divine world. The Celestial Emperor wanted many human powerhouses to cultivate diligently and strive to affirm their Tao and become Celestial Emperors as soon as possible. When he went to the fiend world this time, the Celestial Emperor already had a premonition. Perhaps he would not be able to come back. But he had an obsession. His wife and son must come back alive. The Celestial Emperor killed his way into the fiend world. All the worlds in the heavens were shocked. Without any doubt, in the fiend world, many fiend emperors set up a supreme fiend formation and joined forces with other great emperors to suppress and kill the Celestial Emperor. In that battle, a sea of blood overflowed into the sky. Great emperors fell, and the heavens wailed. The Celestial Emperor fought while bathed in blood, killing more than a dozen great emperors in succession. Among them, there was no lack of powerful epic great emperors. And people like Primitive Fiend Emperor and Blood Prison Fiend Emperor did not even have the qualifications to get close to the Celestial Emperor. They were seriously injured by the aftershock and then fled frantically in fear. Although Undying Fiend Emperor was powerful, he was also seriously injured by the Celestial Emperor and almost died in the Emperor's hands. In the end, Primal Chaos Emperor made a move. Primal Chaos Emperor was the fiend race's greatest reliance. Although he was one of the four great rulers, he was narrow-minded. He felt greatly threatened by the Celestial Emperor's heaven-defying talent and aptitude. He made a move and severely injured the Celestial Emperor. Even the human race's Saintus, after blocking a fatal blow for the Celestial Emperor, died in his arms. The Celestial Emperor went crazy. As if he was possessed, he activated the power of the 3,000 Great Tao origins. In an instant, the 3,000 Great Taos merged into one and erupted with a supreme power that could destroy heaven and earth. Other than Undying Fiend Emperor who escaped, the other great emperors were all killed by the Celestial Emperor. Even Primal Chaos Emperor was seriously injured by the Celestial Emperor. And the Celestial Emperor was almost at the end of his life. In the end, the Celestial Emperor used a supreme technique to seal Di Hao and banish him to the Universe River, sending him out of the battlefield. The final scene was the Fiend World's Burial Mountain. Standing in the endless mountain of corpses and sea of blood, the Celestial Emperor turned into a dazzling rain of light and completely disappeared between heaven and earth. At that moment, the heavens shook, the great Tao resonated, blood rained from the sky, and tens of thousands of souls wailed in grief. It was as if heaven and earth were mourning the fall of such a supreme legend. In Ling Zhao's mind, the words that Zhao Ritian left behind before he was sealed echoed, "Father, don't abandon me, don't leave me alone." Unknowingly, Ling Zhao's face was already covered in tears. It was a long dream. It was also a reincarnation cycle, a memory. It was as if it had been sealed for hundreds of millions of years. After Ling Zhao chose to merge with his previous body, he solved many mysteries and found many answers. The Apex. Chapter 3370. Ling Zhao had already merged with his previous incarnation. He was the Heavenly Emperor, but he was also not the Heavenly Emperor. The Heavenly Emperor was severely injured. After his Tao assimilation, he triggered the 3,000 Great Tao origins. His undying true spirit entered the legendary cycle of reincarnation and reincarnated into Ling Zhao. Even the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain and the 4 great rulers did not know about this reincarnation. He was not the Heavenly Emperor because he had an independent consciousness in this life. The Heavenly Emperor's true spirit had yet to awaken. It was only after he merged with his previous incarnation that he obtained the Heavenly Emperor's memories and understood his previous and current incarnations. After merging with the Heavenly Emperor's memories, Ling Zhao finally understood the meaning of Zhao Ritian's last sentence. "In this life, you will not abandon me again." Zhao Ritian's words made Ling Zhao feel as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. "I will definitely save you, even if I have to destroy the heavens and destroy the cycle of reincarnation." Ling Zhao thought to himself. After merging with his previous incarnation, he was only left with his next incarnation. The reason why Ling Zhao did not choose to refine the Myriad Tao Golden Pill immediately and transcend was not only because he wanted to merge with the Heavenly Emperor's memories and see what Zhao Ritian had done in the past, but also because he felt that if he could merge with his 3 incarnations, he might be able to truly transcend. The Heavenly Emperor was his previous incarnation. Moreover, his undying true spirit was reincarnated into Ling Zhao, which seemed to have contributed to Ling Zhao's transcendence. Ling Zhao did not encounter any obstacles in merging with his previous incarnation and completed it easily. The most difficult part was merging with his next incarnation. Ling Zhao's next incarnation seemed to be sitting cross-legged in a chaotic void. It was surrounded by a sea of blood and looked like a Jura hell. Without a doubt, Ling Zhao's next incarnation was a true transcendental being. He had transcended the heavens and earth, transcended the Great Tao origins, and transcended all restraints. However, it was because of this that it was almost impossible to merge with his next incarnation. Unless Ling Zhao could truly defeat and subdue his next incarnation, merging with his next incarnation was no different from a fantasy. Rumble. Blazing light bloomed. Time and space were distorted and chaos rose. Ling Zhao seemed to have arrived in a vast and ancient world. In front of him, a figure that seemed to be bathed in an endless sea of corpses slowly opened his eyes. It was a pair of incomparably cold eyes that contained a monstrous killing intent. It was as if it could bury millions of lives, causing Ling Zhao to feel a terrifying killing intent rushing towards him. That was Ling Zhao's next life. Only when he stood in front of his future self did he realize how terrifying it was. He and his future incarnation stood opposite each other. It was as if they were standing at two ends of the river of time, facing each other from afar. The feeling was incomparably strange. As though it knew Ling Zhao's intentions, the future body's eyes were filled with arrogance and unruliness. In an instant, it pounced towards Ling Zhao. Rumble! Without any warning, an earth-shattering battle broke out in an instant. The battle between Ling Zhao and his future incarnation seemed to have taken place in the void, separated by the endless river of time. Its power was incomparably terrifying, able to destroy everything. The afterlife was incomparably powerful. It was so powerful that after just a few rounds, Ling Zhao's present incarnation had already been killed by his future incarnation. However, this was Ling Zhao's home ground. His present incarnation had an almost indestructible power. Although he was killed by his future incarnation, his present incarnation condensed in an instant and charged towards his future incarnation. The battle became more and more intense. The two figures kept colliding at an extremely fast speed. It was as if heaven and earth had been split open. Chaos rose, yin and yang reversed, and reincarnation was born. All kinds of mysterious scenes appeared, completely drowning the two figures. In a mysterious chaotic world in the Eldritch continent, the majestic chaotic heavenly palace bloomed with dazzling light. It floated above the 9 heavens, exuding an eternal aura. The chaotic emperor sat high on the throne in the heavenly palace. There seemed to be a chaotic vortex around him. It emitted a mysterious light and was constantly devouring the origin energy of chaos. In the battle to snatch the myriad Dao Golden Core, he had suffered an unimaginable injury. In particular, the Scarlet Dragon War God had set up the Primal Chaos Infinite Array with the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures. It had devoured his cultivation for dozens of eras to nourish the myriad Dao Golden Core. If not for the Samsara Emperor, he would have died in the Primal Chaos Infinite Array. Below him, the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor stood with his hands behind his back. His face was extremely calm, as if there was no respect at all. Heavenly Grandmaster, you still dare to come and see me? The chaotic emperor stared at the Heavenly Grandmaster and said coldly. His eyes were surging with cold, killing intent. He had asked the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor to guard the passageway to the Dark Realm to prevent the Samsara Emperor from coming. However, the Samsara Emperor had still come. This could only mean that the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor had not followed the chaotic emperor's orders. Otherwise, with the passageway to the Dark Realm, even if the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor was no match for the Samsara Emperor, it would not be difficult for him to block the Samsara Emperor in the Dark Realm. Greetings, Lord Ruler. If I had not let the Samsara Emperor out of the Dark Realm, you would have died in the Primal Chaos Infinite Array, right? The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor raised his head and looked at the chaotic emperor with a faint smile. His eyes were full of playfulness. So, I should thank you? The chaotic emperor said coldly. There's no need to thank me. However, I think that Lord Ruler is a man who understands the situation. Why don't you submit to my master? The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor said with a smile. Your master? Heavenly Grandmaster, you are indeed a wolf with wild ambitions. Who is your master? Fate, karma, samsara, or the weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book? The chaotic emperor stared at the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor and said coldly, Lord Ruler, your vision is too narrow, isn't it? How can you know the vastness of heaven and earth if you are limited to this realm? My master is naturally the one in the Dark Realm. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor said with a smile. The one in the Dark Realm has awakened? The chaotic emperor shuddered as if he had thought of something terrible. He suddenly stood up from the throne. Of course my master has not awakened. However, it won't be long before he wakes up. Lord Ruler, you no longer have any hope of transcending. Why don't you submit to my master? Perhaps you can escape with your life when the immeasurable calamity arrives. Lord Ruler, you should know that this realm is not complete. There is no cycle of life and death. It is destined to return to the void. However, my master is immortal and indestructible. Only by submitting to him will you have a chance of survival. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor said as he stood with his hands behind his back. He looked very confident. Although his cultivation was not as strong as the Chaotic Emperor, he seemed to have something to rely on. There was no respect or fear in his eyes when he looked at the Chaotic Emperor. Your master has been asleep for so long. He is barely hanging on by a thread. He might not even be able to save himself, let alone me. Moreover, the return of all living beings to the void is an irreversible trend. Even he can't change it. Primal Chaos Emperor sneered. That's not right. Lord Ruler, have you forgotten about that place in the Cosmic River? If my master enters that place, not only will he be able to reincarnate, but he will also be able to enter the Eternal Land. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor said with a smile. There was a hint of fanaticism in his eyes. The void world. The Primal Chaos Emperor spat out these two words, which seemed to weigh 1,000 caddies. The Primal Chaos Emperor's breathing quickened. That's right. It is the void world. The void world is about to open. This time, my master will not only sweep through the eldritch wilderness, but also dominate the myriad worlds. When the time comes, no one will be able to stop him. Chaotic Emperor, I have said enough. Now you can make your choice. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor smiled faintly. What if I refuse? The Primal Chaos Emperor said faintly as his eyes revealed a tinge of untamed sharpness. If you refuse, then I will not let you live. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor said indifferently. You think you can? The Chaotic Emperor sneered and said, although I am injured and my strength is greatly reduced, I am not someone a lowly person like you can covet. For that person's sake, get lost immediately. Otherwise, if I change my mind, you can only leave your life behind. Chaotic Emperor, it seems like you are determined to refuse my master's good intentions. In that case, don't blame me for being rude. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor shook his head. There was a hint of pity in his eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and bowed respectfully. 2 emissaries, please. Crack. The void instantly shattered. 2 figures with monstrous auras stepped out and appeared in the chaotic heavenly palace. They were 2 figures, one black and one white. The one in black was a middle-aged man. His body was pitch black, as if he was cast from gold and iron. He emitted an immortal light. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. His fangs were sharp and his face was filled with cruel killing intent. The one in white was an extremely handsome young man. His figure was like a ghost. His face was extremely pale and his eyes were shining with a demonic light. The 2 figures were emitting monstrous emperor auras. Their auras were extremely terrifying. The moment they appeared, they immediately locked onto the chaotic emperor. Hitorigami? Wucheng? The chaotic emperor's body trembled. He instantly recognized the 2 people in front of him. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The Hitorigami Emperor was one of the ancestors of the zombie tribe. He had achieved Tao in the ancient era. He was extremely powerful and had once caused a bloodbath in the universe. The Impermanence Emperor was one of the primogenitors of the ghosts. He had also attained enlightenment in the ancient epic. He was a prodigy who had once been chosen by the heavens. He had single-handedly made the ghosts the epic lord. The Chaotic Emperor was very familiar with the 2 of them. However, logically speaking, the 2 of them should have fallen. Why were they here? In particular, the terrifying auras from the Hitorigami Emperor and the Wuchang Emperor made the Chaotic Emperor's expression change drastically. The 2 of them were extremely powerful. They were not weaker than the Chaotic Emperor at his peak. How was this possible? Chaotic Emperor, die. The Hitorigami Emperor's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He instantly charged towards the Chaotic Emperor. Chapter 3371. Rumble. Drought Demon Emperor's body was as red as blood. 2 huge blood-red wings appeared behind him. He seemed to have pierced through time and space in an instant as he clawed at Primal Chaos Emperor's head. His claws were extremely sharp and flowed with immortal light. They were even more terrifying than an Apex Emperor weapon. Large areas of the void collapsed as a terrifying murderous intent quickly engulfed Primal Chaos Emperor. Those who defy the Master's orders will be killed without mercy. Wuchang Emperor sneered. His feminine eyes revealed an extremely cold, murderous intent. His body exploded in the void and split into thousands of black shadows. They covered the sky and covered the earth as they enveloped Primal Chaos Emperor. Every black shadow was constantly twisting. They contained a power that could destroy one's primordial spirit, causing the void to tremble violently. Accompanying them were ghostly wails and wolf howls. It was terrifying and terrifying, sending chills down one's spine. This is Dark World's origin. Damn it. Primal Chaos Emperor's face changed drastically. Seeing Drought Demon Emperor and Wu Chang Emperor charging at him, chaotic light rose around him and the Bell of Chaos appeared around him. On the Bell of Chaos, there were the sun, the moon, stars, and all living beings. It contained Chaos Origin and was an extremely powerful Apex Emperor weapon. It had an extremely strong defense. Clang. Drought Demon Emperor clawed at the Bell of Chaos. There was the sound of metal clashing as sparks flew and the surrounding void vibrated. Wu Chang Emperor's countless black shadows tried to invade the Bell of Chaos. However, the Bell of Chaos suddenly released blazing chaotic light. A powerful sound wave spread out and blocked all the black shadows outside. Damn it! Primal Chaos Emperor's face was extremely ugly. He finally understood why Drought Demon Emperor and Impermanence possessed such terrifying battle prowess. It turned out that they had submitted to the Lord of Dark World. Their cultivation base had been converted into Dark World's origin. Under the Lord of Dark World's empowerment, they had such terrifying fighting strength. However, the Lord of Dark World must have paid a hefty price to create two experts with such fighting strength. If Primal Chaos Emperor had been at his peak, he would not have been afraid even if he had to face Drought Demon Emperor and Impermanence Emperor at the same time. But now, he was heavily injured. He had lost dozens of eras of cultivation in the Primal Chaos Infinite Array. His injuries had yet to heal, so he was no match for the two of them. Droughty Demon Monarch and Impermanence Demon Monarch unleashed all sorts of powerful forbidden techniques, each of which targeted Primal Chaos Monarch's vitals. They were determined to kill him. No. If I get entangled by the two of them, I might really die. You must leave this place first. Despicable and shameless villains. Wait until this emperor recovers his peak cultivation. I will make sure you die without a burial ground. The Primal Chaos Emperor thought to himself as his anger surged. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor's eyes lit up as if he had realized something. He said to the Drought Demon Emperor and the Impermanence Emperor, "Messengers, I'm afraid Hun Dun is trying to escape. Stop him. We must kill him today. Tong Tian, you despicable person, I will definitely kill you." Primal Chaos Emperor bellowed. "Cut the crap. Hun Dun, you're just using me. Since you're so stubborn, don't blame me for what happens next." The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor sneered as his eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Rumble. The Drought Demon Emperor and the Impermanence Emperor's attacks were getting more and more terrifying. Murderous aura filled the sky as darkness rose. It was like a sea of death that had buried billions of lives. It completely enveloped the Primal Chaos Emperor and killed him. The Drought Demon Emperor's physical body was immortal. He was originally from the zombie tribe and his physical body was refined to be comparable to an Apex Emperor weapon. He was not at a disadvantage in the battle against the Bell of Chaos. On the other hand, the Impermanence Emperor specialized in primordial spirit attacks. He stirred up gusts of dark ghostly wind that tore all souls into pieces. The Primal Chaos Emperor was already at a disadvantage after exchanging blows for a short while. The bell of primal chaos around him was buzzing and trembling, and its light had become somewhat dim. Even though the Bell of Chaos was an extreme Dao Monarch weapon and possessed an unparalleled defense, it had reached its limit under the attacks of the two strongest experts. The Drought Demon Emperor's physical body was not weaker than an Apex Emperor weapon. Every time they clashed, the Bell of Chaos would vibrate violently as if it would shatter at any time. Rumble. The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes were sharp as he activated the supreme power of the Bell of Chaos. A terrifying sound wave bloomed and forced the Impermanence Emperor to retreat. At the same time, he clashed with the Drought Demon Emperor. With his current physical body, he was no match for the Drought Demon Emperor and was sent flying. Buzz. An ancient stone talisman appeared in the Primal Chaos Emperor's palm. There were runes on the stone talisman that seemed to contain some kind of mysterious truth of the universe. Suppress. The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes were filled with pain. However, he gritted his teeth and threw out the stone talisman. Rumble. The stone talisman shone brightly in the void. The simple runes on it were like mountains and rivers. In an instant, it suppressed the Primal Chaos Emperor from the void. It was a simple sacred mountain and a long river. The mysterious void gathered together to form a sealing realm. Instantly, the Drought Demon Emperor, the Impermanence Emperor, and the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor were sealed within. Not good. This is a treasure left behind by a transcender. Break it quickly. We can't let him escape. The Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor's face changed. He felt as if there were billions of sacred mountains pressing down on him. His body trembled violently and he couldn't bear it. He fell to his knees, his eyes filled with disbelief. The Drought Demon Emperor and the Impermanence Emperor's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Darkness origin energy gathered around them and they charged towards the Primal Chaos Emperor. Rumble. It was as if an invisible barrier had appeared. The void trembled and the two of them were pushed back. Don't waste your energy. This is the heaven-suppressing talisman left behind by a transcender. Even your master won't be able to break it in a short time. Just you wait, I won't let you go. The Primal Chaos Emperor looked coldly at the three people in front of him. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. He immediately shifted out of the Primal Chaos Heavenly Palace. Behind him, the Drought Demon Emperor and the others roared. However, they couldn't break free from the seal to chase after the Primal Chaos Emperor. Damn it! Has the Lord of the Dark World awakened? If that's the case, the entire Eldritch world will be plunged into a catastrophe. The only way to fight against him is to transcend. The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes were filled with worry and fear. He left the small world in an instant. The heaven-suppressing talisman was a treasure he had obtained from the ancient ruins. It contained the power of transcendence and was left behind by a transcendence expert. It was extremely effective in suppressing the creatures of the Dark Realm. However, it was not that effective against the experts of the untainted world. Otherwise, he would have used it when he was fighting for the Myriad Dao Golden Elixir. Ling Xiao should have refined the Myriad Dao Golden Core by now, right? Damn it. If it wasn't for the weapon spirit, I would have been the one to transcend. The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes were filled with unwillingness. Now, the threat of the Lord of the Dark World made him extremely anxious. He felt that he wasn't strong enough and urgently needed help. Therefore, he decided to contact the Destiny Emperor and the Karma Emperor. With the three of them, they might have a chance to fight against the Lord of the Dark World. Buzz. The power of time flowed in front of him. A long river of time stretched across the void and blocked the Primal Chaos Emperor. Time, do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? The Primal Chaos Emperor's face turned cold and he said coldly. Needless to say, he knew that the person blocking him was the Flowing Time Emperor. The void was filled with light. An old man in a white robe with white hair and beard walked out of the long river of time. He exuded an ethereal and mysterious light as he walked in front of the Primal Chaos Emperor. Primal Chaos, why are you in such a hurry? Although I can't wait to kill you, there's a chance to transcend. Do you want it? The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes flickered as he smiled faintly. A chance to transcend? Where's the chance to transcend? Could it be that you can create a Myriad Tao Golden Core for me? The Primal Chaos Emperor sneered. No. Ling Xiao didn't choose to fuse with the Myriad Dao Golden Core immediately. He chose a more difficult path. He's fusing with the bodies of 3 lives. The Flowing Time Emperor smiled faintly. Fusing with the bodies of 3 lives? The Primal Chaos Emperor's body shook. His eyes revealed a trace of incomparable horror. That's right. It's almost impossible to fuse with the bodies of 3 lives before transcending, but Ling Xiao did it. I think this is the best chance for us to snatch the Myriad Dao Golden Core, isn't it? The Flowing Time Emperor smiled faintly. Why didn't you snatch such a good opportunity? Why did you come to me? The Primal Chaos Emperor asked suspiciously. Because the person protecting Ling Xiao is the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. I don't have the confidence to defeat him. The Flowing Time Emperor said slowly. Kunwu Mountain? That old fart? If he's protecting Ling Xiao, it'll be very difficult. The Primal Chaos Emperor frowned. Obviously, he had some understanding of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Although the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was only in the Emperor realm, he was far from being as simple as he seemed. At the very least, the Primal Chaos Emperor didn't want to provoke the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. The Flowing Time Emperor nodded and said, I can lure the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain away for you to kill Ling Xiao and snatch the Myriad Dao Golden Core. What do you think? You're that kind? The Primal Chaos Emperor sneered and said, Cut the crap. Tell me your conditions. I don't believe you have no ulterior motives. I want the Primal Chaos, Destiny, Karma, and Reincarnation Golden Cores. I believe you have them. As long as you give them to me, I'll help you snatch the Myriad Dao Golden Core. The Flowing Time Emperor smiled faintly and revealed his true motive. 4 golden cores of origin? You really have a big appetite. However, if I can get the Myriad Dao Golden Core, I'll give it to you. The Primal Chaos Emperor raised his eyebrows and sneered. The Flowing Time Emperor's appetite was indeed big. Moreover, through the Flowing Time Emperor's conditions, he could see the Flowing Time Emperor's true strength. The great Dao origin in a great emperor's body would condense into an immortal golden core of origin after the great tribulation of an era. For example, the 4 great emperors of chaos, fate, karma, and reincarnation were called sovereigns because they had condensed 3,000 golden cores origin over the past 108 eras. They had cultivated for 108 eras and raised their strength to the limit. The next step forward was to attain Dao transcendence. However, it was different from attaining Dao unity. It was almost impossible to merge the 3,000 golden cores of origin into one. Only with the help of the Myriad Dao Golden Core could one attain Dao transcendence in a single step. Strictly speaking, they were half-step sovereigns because only those who had truly transcended could be called sovereigns. Since the Flowing Time Emperor wanted these 4 golden origin cores, it meant that he wasn't far from reaching the half-step sovereign realm. Perhaps after fusing with the 4 golden origin cores, he would be able to stand on equal footing with the 4 Primal Chaos sovereigns. The Primal Chaos Emperor is indeed straightforward. As long as you give me the 4 golden cores of origin, I will definitely help you attain transcendence. When the time comes, I will have to ask the sovereign to take care of me. The Flowing Time Emperor smiled. Well said. However, if you dare to lie to me, you should know the price of doing so. The Primal Chaos Great Emperor sneered and waved his hand. Immediately, the 4 mysterious and dazzling golden cores flew toward the Flowing Time Emperor. 4 golden cores of origin. This might not be of much use to the Primal Chaos Great Emperor, but it was crucial to the Flowing Time Emperor. The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes lit up and he immediately kept the 4 golden cores of origin. The Primal Chaos Great Emperor is indeed straightforward. Let's go. I'm afraid there are many people who are itching to snatch the Myriad Dao Golden Core. The Flowing Time Emperor smiled. Rumble. The river of time stretched across millions of miles of the void and enveloped him and the Primal Chaos Great Emperor. In an instant, they were transported into the endless chaos. Chapter 3372. In the chaotic void. Ling Xiao was surrounded by chaotic mist and there was no sign of life. He was like a dried corpse floating in the void. He had been sitting there for more than 100 days. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had also been protecting him. However, more and more people were eyeing Ling Xiao. There was no sign of life on Ling Xiao's body for more than 100 days. Many people thought that Ling Xiao was completely dead. It was especially so for the great emperors. They could barely sit still. The Myriad Dao Golden Core was a treasure that they had been dreaming of. As long as they could obtain the Myriad Dao Golden Core, they would have a chance to transcend. It was an irresistible temptation. If you want the Myriad Dao Golden Core, just do it. You are a great emperor, but you are acting like a coward. don't you find it embarrassing? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain picked up his teacup and drained it in one gulp. He could feel that the powerful figures around him were about to make a move. However, many of them were afraid of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, so they held back their impulse. However, there were still two figures that appeared. They were two old men in black robes. They had a sage-like demeanor and a delicate face. Their bodies exuded an ethereal and otherworldly aura. They held dragon snake crutches in their hands and walked toward the Kunwu Mountain Emperor. "Greetings, Emperor." The two old men in black robes bowed to the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. "Tao Hua, Xingyuan, do you want the myriad Dao golden core too?" The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's eyes flashed as he asked. The two old men in black robes were Immortal Peach and Immortal Apricot. They were born together with the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain and grew up in the chaotic ancient land. However, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had taken human form a long time ago, while Xian Tao and Xian Xing had always been in an ignorant state. It was only a few eras ago, when they were enlightened by the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, that they took human form and later confirmed their Dao and became emperors. Tao Hua and Xingyuan were the lords of the spiritual world. The spiritual world was a world where many rare beasts, flowers, and herbs had transformed. It was called the spiritual world because all things had spirit. "Emperor, our lifespans are about to end. We will not be able to survive this great tribulation. Only with the help of the myriad Dao golden core can I extend my lifespan and even advance further. I beg the Emperor to grant my wish." Tao Hua said sincerely. The myriad Dao golden core is something that reaches the heavens. He is not dead yet and is in the midst of a transformation. You dare to covet the myriad Tao golden core? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said indifferently. "Emperor, even though you've done us a favor in the past, we've already given you the Immortal Peaches and Immortal Apricots from a few eras, so we don't owe you anything. Seeing that we are old friends, Monarch, please move aside. We will not hurt you, but the myriad Tao golden core is ours." Xingyuan's eyes revealed a tinge of arrogance as he said coldly, "Hurt me? Where did your confidence come from? For the sake of an old friend, I will also give you a piece of advice. It's not easy to transform, so don't waste this opportunity." The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said with a faint smile. "Emperor, are you determined to stop us?" Tao Hua sighed softly. "Big brother, why are you wasting your breath on him? Without entering the Emperor realm, he is still an ant. Even if he has some tricks up his sleeve, how can he defeat the two of us?" Xingyuan sneered. "Emperor, I'm sorry." Tao Hua said with a sigh. Buzz. The dragon-shaped walking stick in his hand trembled slightly and a pink light bloomed. In an instant, it swept across the void and pressed down on the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Xingyuan sneered. The snake-shaped walking stick in his hand emitted a dense black light as if it had turned into an ancient giant snake and coiled around the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. The dragon and snake intertwined as if there was a supreme force that could split the heavens and earth. The aura was extremely terrifying. At the same time, tree branches spread out around Tao Hua and Xingyuan. In an instant, they covered thousands of miles of the void. The branches and leaves were crystal clear and contained an immortal luster. It was like a prison that trapped the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. At the same time, countless flowers bloomed. It was as if they had bloomed and withered millions of times in an instant. The power of time and space flowed and shrouded everything as if it was going to sink into oblivion. "Monarch, you should wait in this fleeting youth array for a moment. When we obtain the myriad Tao Jindan, we will come and apologize to you." Tao Hua said. In the next moment, the two of them moved at the same time and grabbed at Ling Xiao. Boom! But in the next moment, endless chaotic light bloomed. The true dragon and giant serpent formed by the dragon snake walking stick was instantly pulverized by a chaos divine mountain. The chaos divine mountain rose to a height of hundreds of millions of meters. It came crashing down, smashing the mysterious flowers into pieces. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain walked out of the endless dazzling light. There was not a single speck of dust on his body. He instantly stood in front of Tao Hua and Xingyuan. "Fleeting youth array? You guys have really put in a lot of effort to deal with me. It's a pity that you guys haven't mastered the instant youth array. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said indifferently. His eyes were deep and aged. What? Tao Hua and Xing Yuan were shocked. Both of them were extremely powerful. They were epic great emperors who had cultivated for a few eras. The dragon snake walking stick was an extreme Dao emperor weapon that they had refined for many years. They were extremely wary of the Kunwu Mountain monarch. Therefore, they unleashed their full strength right from the start. Not only did they awaken their two apex monarch weapons, they also unleashed the fleeting youth grand formation. This ancient taboo formation was meant to trap the Kunwu Mountain monarch for a moment. However, they did not expect that the forbidden array that was said to be able to trap and kill an epic great emperor would be broken by the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain so easily. Since you're here, stay, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said indifferently. Then he slammed his palm down. Rumble. The huge palm print was surrounded by chaotic light. It was as if a boundless continent was pressing down. Tao Hua and Xing Yuan felt an unparalleled threat. Their faces could not help but change. Open up! Tao Hua shouted suddenly. The dragon-shaped walking stick in his hand suddenly soared into the sky like a towering ancient tree. It emitted a monstrous dragon's might that wanted to break open the sky. At the same time, Xing Yuan pointed his finger like a sword. A sharp sword light instantly swept across the void, trying to destroy the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's palm print. Boom! The huge palm print fell. It was immortal and mysterious. It was as if millions of chaotic divine mountains were pressing down at the same time. It was extremely terrifying. Rumble! Light exploded in the sky. The sword chi shattered and the dragon-shaped walking stick was sent flying with a cry. Tao Hua and Xing Yuan felt as if they were struck by lightning. Their bodies shook violently and blood spurted out of their mouths. Damn it! Their faces were extremely ugly. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. They could not imagine how the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain could be so powerful. Break! The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's expression was extremely cold. He shouted and pointed his finger at Tao Hua and Xing Yuan. The finger radiance was crystal clear and mysterious. It contained a supreme power that could destroy the primordial spirit. It made Tao Hua and Xing Yuan tremble violently and they revealed an extremely fearful expression. No! There was a desperate cry. Blood radiance flashed. Tao Hua and Xing Yuan's glabella exploded at the same time. Their primordial spirits appeared. They were a dazzling peach tree and a mysterious apricot tree. When the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain pointed his finger at them, the peach tree and apricot tree instantly shattered. Their primordial spirits were shattered into countless pieces. Even their physical bodies were shattered instantly. The Kunwu Mountain Emperor waved his sleeves and Tao Hua and Xing Yuan instantly reverted to their original forms. They transformed into a peach tree and an apricot tree that were about 10 feet tall before the Kunwu Mountain Emperor kept them in his sleeves. The surrounding crowd could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. In particular, the few great emperors felt a chill run down their spines. Their eyes were filled with extreme fear. Tao Hua and Xing Yuan were not weak. They were the masters of the spiritual world. Two great emperors of an era had been suppressed by the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain so easily. They did not even know if they were dead or alive. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's strength was far beyond their imagination. He's too powerful. With the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain protecting him, I'm afraid we have no hope. The Myriad Dao Golden Core. That's a Myriad Dao Golden Core that can transcend. I can't accept this. What can we do? With the combat strength displayed by the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, we'll just be courting death if we go up. It would be great if someone could lure the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain away. The eyes of the people hidden in the surrounding void were filled with fear and unwillingness. Some of them even chose to leave. With the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain protecting Ling Xiao, even Tao Hua and Xing Yuan, two great emperors of an era, were suppressed. There was nothing they could do. Boom. However, at this moment, a mysterious river of time swept across the void. It was as if there were countless living beings and worlds buried in it. It enveloped the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain majestically. Flowing Time Emperor, you still dare to come? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's eyes flashed sharply as he said coldly. Boom. He threw out a punch. The chaotic fist print was unparalleled like a chaotic divine mountain. In an instant, it collided with the river of time. Heaven and earth shook violently. In the river of time, the Flowing Time Emperor, who was dressed in a white robe, walked towards the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. His eyes were filled with a strange light. Kunwu Mountain, it seems like everyone has underestimated you. Although your cultivation is only in the Imperial Emperor realm, you're also on the path of Myriad Dao unification. Now that the Myriad Dao Golden Core is within reach, aren't you tempted? The Flowing Time Emperor smiled faintly. His words caused everyone's body to involuntarily tremble. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was also on the path of Myriad Dao unification? How was that possible? After hearing the Flowing Time Emperor's words, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain did not refute. Instead, he said indifferently, "You won't understand my Dao even if I tell you. Ling Xiao is a destined person. He's destined to transcend in this life and become invincible. Aren't you afraid that Ling Xiao will be the first to kill you after he reaches the Dao unification? Destined to transcend? Who's destined?" Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, I don't believe that you're not tempted by the Myriad Dao Golden Core. I think you have other plans. You want to take the Myriad Dao Golden Core for yourself, right? Only with Ling Xiao's death can anyone become a transcendent. The Flowing Time Emperor sneered. You're so confident? I'm afraid you're not the only one who came, right? Who else can come out together? If you want the Myriad Dao Golden Core, you'll have to defeat me first. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said indifferently as he looked at the void in the distance. There, chaos rose and dazzling light. A figure with a monstrous aura stepped out. His body exuded a powerful aura that shook the heavens and earth. It was the Chaotic Emperor. Chapter 3373. Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, get out of my way and I'll spare your life. The Primal Chaos Emperor stared at the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain and said coldly. Primal chaos light rose around him and his aura surged into the sky. He was like a primal chaos fiend god that came from before the creation of the world. Staring at Ling Xiao, who was sitting cross-legged in the void, the Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes were blazing. The Flowing Time Emperor didn't lie to him. Although Ling Xiao had transcended, he didn't choose to integrate with the Myriad Dao Golden Core and transcend. Instead, he chose to integrate with his 3 reincarnations. Now, Ling Xiao seemed to have fallen into a state of nirvana and was only relying on the Myriad Dao Golden Core to maintain his life. Now was the best time to snatch the Myriad Dao Golden Core. Primal Chaos, how dare you act so presumptuously here? Aren't you afraid that Ling Xiao will be the first to kill you after he transcends? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain looked at the Primal Chaos Emperor and said, It's still unknown who will transcend. Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, you won't be able to protect Ling Xiao. The Primal Chaos Emperor said coldly. Primal Chaos, don't waste your breath on him. I'll stop him. You go and get the Myriad Dao Golden Core. The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes flashed and he attacked immediately. Boom! The void trembled, and a long river of time stretched across hundreds of millions of miles in the void, pressing down on the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's eyes flashed and a blazing light rose around him. He threw out a punch, trying to break through the river of time and rush out. Buzz! The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes turned cold. The bell of Primal Chaos flew across the sky, containing a mysterious source of chaos. It seemed to be able to suppress everything and fell on the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Then, the Primal Chaos Emperor pounced on Ling Xiao. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, he had to kill Ling Xiao and get the Myriad Dao Golden Core first. The void trembled as though there was a blazing thunderbolt that tore through billions of miles of the void. The Emperor Lord of Kunwu Mountain and the Flowing Time Emperor clashed, causing the entire world to tremble and the void to tremble. The mysterious river of time trembled violently, and the power of time gushed out from it. In the end, it exploded with a bang. Clang! The Chaos Bell shone brightly, but when it collided with the Kunwu Mountain Emperor, the already injured Chaos Bell was instantly sent flying. In the palm of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, the five-colored divine light spread out like a five-colored Milky Way and enveloped the Emperor of Chaos. Since he was Ling Xiao's protector, he naturally could not allow Primal Chaos Emperor to get close to Ling Xiao. Get out of my way! The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes were incomparably cold as he blasted out a Primal Chaos Fist. The divine light was so dazzling that it seemed to be able to shatter everything. The five-colored Milky Way trembled violently. In an instant, it crumbled under the Primal Chaos Fist. Primal Chaos Emperor took a step forward and came before Ling Xiao. Rise. The Kunwu Mountain Emperor's eyes flashed sharply. He formed a seal with both hands and a bright rune exploded in the void. Rumble. Around the Primal Chaos Emperor, the mountains and rivers changed, and the heavens and earth rose. Ling Xiao disappeared in an instant, and the Primal Chaos Emperor appeared in a mysterious world. The worldly mountain river vanishing array? The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes turned cold. The Primal Chaos light around him rose, and his entire body expanded. In an instant, he turned into a giant that was hundreds of millions of miles tall. He punched out repeatedly, and every punch seemed to be able to break through the chaos. The surrounding void trembled continuously, as if it would shatter at any moment. The worldly mountain river vanishing array was a forbidden array that had once trapped and killed a great emperor. It turned out that the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had already prepared for it. Although the Primal Chaos Emperor was strong, he was trapped in the worldly mountain river vanishing array. It would not be easy for him to break out of it in a short period of time. Flowing time, do you really want to walk the same path as the Primal Chaos Emperor and remain stubborn? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said indifferently as he waited for the Flowing Time Emperor to come. Cut the crap. You either make way or tse. The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes flashed with killing intent. The time compass floated above his head, and rivers of time gathered from all directions. They were mysterious and unfathomable, trapping the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain within. Time annihilation. The Flowing Time Emperor roared, and the surrounding void trembled. The rivers of time instantly exploded, as if they had been annihilated at the same time. Boom! A tide of time surged, and wherever it passed, everything turned into dust. It was as if everything was going to be wiped out by the power of time. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain looked indifferent, and mysterious five-colored divine lights rose around his body. They circulated around each other, emitting an immortal luster. The tide of time enveloped the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, but it was blocked by the five-colored divine lights and could not advance at all. What? The Flowing Time Emperor's face changed slightly. Although he had overestimated the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, he realized that the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was far stronger than he had imagined. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain seemed to be at ease even when he was fighting against two people. With his current combat strength, I'm afraid that he's only one step away from the path of 10,000 Daos as one. But why didn't he choose to transcend? The Flowing Time Emperor's heart was filled with doubts. Boom. However, he did not have time to think too much. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain slapped down with his palm, and the five-colored divine lights rose as if they could destroy everything. The tide of time in the surroundings trembled violently, and when it was swept by the five-colored divine lights, it instantly turned into nothingness. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's palm print was no longer obstructed, and it pressed down on the Flowing Time Emperor. The face of the Flowing Time Emperor changed as his eyes shone with an unparalleled sharpness. Pointing out with his finger, an unparalleled amount of power was contained within that finger, causing the surrounding chaotic light to explode out. It was as though there was an ancient world that was being annihilated by this single finger. Age Annihilation Finger. The five-colored palm print and the Age Annihilation Finger collided and then were annihilated at the same time. An incomparably blazing light swept in all directions, shaking the heavens. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain is actually so strong? Some people were shocked, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was the guardian of the human race, and it was said that his strength was incomparably strong. Although few people had seen him in action, it could be seen from his protection of the human race, and the fact that the human race had not been destroyed by other strong races before the birth of a great emperor could be seen. However, no one had expected the emperor of Kunwu Mountain to be so strong. He was not at a disadvantage when facing the Flowing Time Emperor and the Primal Chaos Emperor alone. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain is the most secretive person in the human race. With the cultivation of the Emperor realm, he can actually fight against two great emperors alone. His strength is indeed terrifying. I wonder who will win and who will lose this battle? It's hard to say. The Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor are here for the Myriad Dao Golden Core. If they really manage to snatch the Myriad Dao Golden Core, the result will be unpredictable. Speaking of which, I wonder if Ling Xiao is dead or not. His current state is very strange, and he doesn't seem to have the slightest vitality. He is neither alive nor dead, but no one dares to make a move. The Myriad Dao Golden Core in his body has become a delicious cake in everyone's eyes. Seeing the intense battle between the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, the Primal Chaos Emperor, and the Flowing Time Emperor, everyone was incomparably shocked. However, now that the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor have made their move, I'm afraid that some hidden great emperors won't be able to sit still any longer. After all, this is the best time to snatch the Myriad Dao Golden Core. That's right. In the midst of chaos, it's hard to say if the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain can protect Ling Xiao. Rumble! The Flowing Time Great Emperor unleashed his strongest battle prowess as the origin of the Great Tao intertwined around him like stars. Every strike of his contained the power to destroy the heavens and the earth, firmly entangling the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Although the Primal Chaos Emperor was trapped in the worldly mountain river vanishing illusion array, he had attained the Tao of Primal Chaos. The Primal Chaos energy suppressed everything and was all-encompassing. As he continued to attack, the worldly mountain river vanishing illusion array seemed to be on the verge of shattering at any time. The surrounding chaotic void surged, and spatial fluctuations spread out. A few figures with powerful auras suddenly appeared. In the end, the worldly mountain river vanishing illusion array could not withstand the terrifying power of the Primal Chaos Emperor and exploded. In the chaotic void, Ling Xiao reappeared. The figures with powerful auras took advantage of this opportunity to unleash an extremely powerful Emperor's aura. They swept across the sky and grabbed at Ling Xiao. Numerous powerful Extreme Tao Emperor weapons intertwined with each other, and they were mysterious and vast like the sea. They wanted to kill Ling Xiao and snatch the Myriad Tao Golden Core. You're courting death. The Primal Chaos Emperor had just rushed out of the array when he saw the few great emperors suddenly appear and attack Ling Xiao. They wanted to snatch the Myriad Tao Golden Core, and he was instantly enraged. He had already regarded the Myriad Tao Golden Core as his exclusive property, and these few people were so reckless as to want to snatch the fruits of his labor. In his rage, endless chaotic light gathered on the arm of the Primal Chaos Emperor, and then it turned into a ferocious chaotic fist print. In an instant, it filled the void and suppressed the few great emperors. Primal Chaos Emperor, do you really think that you can dominate everything? Get lost. There was a cold laugh, and one of the great emperors shone with dazzling radiance. He took out a violet golden hammer and charged at the Primal Chaos Emperor. At this moment, those who dared to snatch the Myriad Tao Golden Core were at least great emperors of the epic. Many people had seen with their own eyes that the Primal Chaos Emperor and the others had been severely injured in the battle of Tao verification and their strength had been greatly reduced. Therefore, although the great emperors were still wary of the Primal Chaos Emperor, they weren't afraid of him. In order to snatch the Myriad Tao Golden Core, they directly attacked the Primal Chaos Emperor. Rumble! The void shook violently, and endless chaotic light swept out. It was as though the heavens and earth were about to shatter at this moment. The Primal Chaos Emperor was infuriated. He punched the violet golden hammer away, but his speed was slightly slower. He could only watch as the few great emperors came before Ling Xiao, and the few powerful Extreme Tao Emperor weapons drowned Ling Xiao. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks flew in all directions, and the light was blazing. The few great emperors were shocked. When their attacks were 100 zhang away from Ling Xiao, it was as though they were blocked by an invisible barrier. The extreme Dao Emperor weapons were completely awakened, and they unleashed an unparalleled power to suppress Ling Xiao. However, it was as though they had smashed onto an extremely hard metal rock, and a blinding light burst out. Could it be? The few great emperors' hearts skipped a beat. They seemed to have thought of a certain possibility, and their eyes were filled with astonishment. You want the myriad Dao golden core? Ling Xiao opened his eyes abruptly. 2 resplendent light beams shot out. They were extremely sharp and dazzling, as though they had lit up the chaotic void in an instant. Everyone felt blinded at that moment, and they couldn't help but shift their eyes away. Ling Xiao stared at the 3 great emperors of the epic in front of him, and his expression was calm. However, there was a shocking vitality erupting from his body. Boundless chaotic energy surged toward him from all directions, and his body was like a black hole, continuously devouring the chaotic energy around him. However, he gave off a strange feeling as though he didn't exist in this world. He had transcended above the great Tao, and he was ethereal and mysterious. Ling Xiao had awakened. Chapter 3374. The hearts of the 3 great emperors shuddered when they saw Ling Xiao's gaze. They felt chills running down their spines. Wasn't Ling Xiao merging the 3 bodies? Why did he wake up so quickly? According to the ancient records, merging the 3 bodies was a near-death experience. Many people could not complete the merger even after thousands of years. In the end, they would die and never be reincarnated. They would be completely erased by the great Tao. However, it had only been 100 days since Ling Xiao passed the Transcendence Tribulation. Could it be that he had completed the merger of the 3 bodies in just 100 days? Given Ling Xiao's current cultivation level, even if he had not transcended, he was only a step away from it. Misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Ling Xiao, let's leave now. The epic emperor, who had used his purple golden hammer to fight against the primal chaos emperor, forced a smile and said to Ling Xiao. Then he executed the greater teleportation technique and teleported into the distance. The other 2 great emperors were not fools. They knew that it was impossible for them to snatch the myriad Dao golden core when they saw Ling Xiao's current state. The most important thing now was to stay alive. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 great emperors were extremely decisive. They retreated instantly, trying to escape from the chaotic void. Since you're here, stay. A faint voice resounded. It made their bodies tremble and their hair stand on end. They desperately tried to move into the distance. Buzz. The void trembled slightly as a gigantic palm swept across the sky, seemingly enveloping the entire world. Its speed was even faster than the speed at which the 3 great emperors of the epic were fleeing. In the blink of an eye, the 3 great emperors were completely enveloped by the palm. Rumble. The void trembled and the world rumbled. Ling Xiao's outstretched palm caught the 3 great emperors like they were little chicks. Then he clenched his fist. 3 cries of agony resounded. Blood mist swirled in the air as divine light blossomed. The 3 great emperors exploded into blood mist in Ling Xiao's palm. Their bodies and bones were shattered. Even their primordial spirits were shattered into countless pieces and erased. Rumble. Ling Xiao stood up from the chaotic void. An ancient, mysterious, and immortal aura covered the sky and covered the earth. His figure wasn't very tall, but at this moment he was like a primal chaos fiend god that supported the heavens and the earth. He emitted a fluctuation that caused everyone's heart to tremble. What? Everyone was stunned. 3 epic emperors had died just like that. If Ling Xiao had executed some sort of supreme fist technique or forbidden technique to kill the 3 great emperors, perhaps they would not have been so shocked. However, Ling Xiao casually extended a hand and grabbed the 3 great emperors. Then he clenched his fist and killed them all. That kind of ease, that kind of casualness, was like crushing an ant. This could only mean that the difference between the 3 great emperors and Ling Xiao was like the difference between heaven and earth. However, that was the peerless epic emperor who was revered throughout the ages. He had once dominated the rise and fall of an era and started the glory and disgrace of an epoch. Even though all living beings feared him, he was one with the grand Tao of the world, an existence that was almost undying and indestructible. They weren't ants. However, their deaths were even easier than ants. Everyone felt that it was incomparably unreal, as if they were in a dream. Hiss! At the same time, the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor trembled violently. They could not help but gasp as their eyes were filled with incomparable shock. Ling Xiao had actually awakened at this moment. Moreover, he had displayed a strength that even the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor found unbelievable. Transcendence expert. Needless to say, the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor immediately understood that Ling Xiao must have stepped onto the path of transcendence and become a true transcendence expert. Otherwise, even if the Primal Chaos Emperor was at his peak, he would not have dared to say that he could kill the great emperors as if they were dogs. Ha! I've played until I swallowed the golden core into my stomach. My fate is in my own hands. Ling Xiao, you've transcended. From now on, as the eternal great emperor, you'll dominate this world and be revered throughout the world. The emperor of Kunwu Mountain laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with incomparable joy. Rumble! Just as his laughter fell, the void suddenly shook. Bolts of lightning rose into the sky. The primal chaos divine lightning above the 9 heavens was dazzling and the everlasting fire surged violently. It was as if an apocalyptic vision had appeared. Around Ling Xiao, divine light shone resplendently. Auspicious vapors rose and the surrounding heaven and earth rumbled. Great Tao immortal flowers floated down and golden lotuses bloomed in the void. The mysterious vision appeared in the sky above the eldritch continent. It appeared in front of everyone's eyes, causing them to tremble uncontrollably. The billions of living beings on the eldritch continent seemed to feel a throbbing and reverence that originated from the depths of their souls. Many of them could not help but kneel down and kowtow. The shocking vision was thousands of times grander and more majestic than the vision when one attained the Tao and became an emperor. At this moment, all living beings were in awe. At this moment, heaven and earth congratulated. At this moment, the great Tao resonated. The heavenly Tao that had fallen into a deep slumber in the eldritch continent seemed to have awakened at this moment to celebrate the birth of a transcendence expert. Although a transcendence expert was outside of the heavenly Tao, it was extremely beneficial to the heavenly Tao. A transcendence expert could complete the heavenly Tao and allow a world to completely transcend and advance. Therefore, before Ling Xiao transcended, he would experience a near-death experience when he went through the transcendence tribulation. However, once he transcended, heaven and earth would congratulate him and the great Tao would resonate. This terrifying vision made the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor tremble. Their eyes were filled with extreme fear as if some kind of life and death crisis was about to befall them. At this moment, Ling Xiao's gaze fell on the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor. His eyes were calm and indifferent. However, the calmer he was, the more the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor's hearts trembled. They knew better than anyone else how much Ling Xiao hated them. Now that Ling Xiao had awakened, the first thing he would do would be to kill them. Let's go! The Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor looked at each other. They gritted their teeth and instantly gave up on the battle with the Kunwu Mountain Emperor. They turned into 2 divine rainbows and shot towards the chaotic void in the distance. Freeze! Ling Xiao's expression was calm. He stepped on the void and walked towards them. He softly uttered a syllable. It was as if his words were the law, causing heaven and earth to tremble and rumble in all directions. Rumble! In the chaotic void, divine chains of order rose. They were all formed by the Great Tao Origin. 3,000 Great Tao Origin contained the power to seal everything. In an instant, they appeared around the Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor, forming an incomparably mysterious domain. They wanted to seal them within. Damn it! The Primal Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor's expressions changed. They felt as if they had fallen into a swamp. Their speed was getting slower and slower, and they felt as if they were about to be frozen in the void. Open! The primal Chaos Emperor suddenly roared. The chaotic light around him rose and the infinite chaotic divine fist exploded. The unstoppable chaotic fist print broke through everything and instantly blasted the divine chains of order apart. He continued to move forward while throwing out Chaos Fist imprints. Although the primal Chaos Emperor was not frozen on the spot, his speed was still extremely slow. Time compass, open. The flowing Time Emperor was even more depressed. The fixed body technique that Ling Xiao used was a supreme secret technique in the Time Dao origin. It used the time origin as its foundation to freeze the power of time and space. It could freeze a person in place and make them unable to move. However, Ling Xiao's fixed body technique was even more profound than what was recorded in the Time Dao origin. With a command, the 3,000 Great Dao origin vibrated at the same time, trapping them on the spot like a prison. The flowing Time Emperor took out the time compass. The time origin seemed to be able to penetrate through the ages. It was also constantly destroying the divine chains of order, trying to get out of this mysterious domain. However, Ling Xiao had already appeared in front of the two of them after a while. What? The primal Chaos Emperor was shocked. When he saw the killing intent in Ling Xiao's eyes, his face became incomparably crazy. He knew that Ling Xiao would not let him go. There was an irreconcilable hatred between them. Therefore, he did not even think of begging for mercy. Buzz. Immeasurable chaotic power poured into the bell of chaos, causing it to shine brightly. The surrounding void trembled violently. In an instant, the bell of chaos was like a huge chaotic divine mountain that was hundreds of millions of feet tall, suppressing Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's gaze was incomparably cold. The hatred between him and the primal Chaos Emperor could be said to be from 2 lifetimes. In his previous life, the Heavenly Emperor had died because of the primal Chaos Emperor. In this life, it was also because of the primal Chaos Emperor that Ling Xiao's 2 avatars had died. The hatred between the two of them did not need to be described with words. It had to be washed away with life and death. Boom! Ling Xiao threw out a punch. Immeasurable light bloomed. The unparalleled fist print seemed to be lingering around 3,000 worlds. The vast Great Dao origin intertwined in the void, causing the heavens and earth to tremble violently. His punch landed on the bell of chaos. In an instant, endless chaotic windstorms were triggered and swept across the void. The bell of chaos released immeasurable light. The runes on it were released. In the end, as if it had reached its limit, cracks appeared. Crack. The bell of chaos exploded with a loud bang. This was the supreme emperor weapon that the primal Chaos Emperor had refined for countless eras. Its power was unparalleled. It was famous in the entire Eldritch world. However, it had been destroyed by Ling Xiao's punch. Kill! The primal Chaos Emperor was in a frenzy. His eyes were filled with killing intent. A jade ruler appeared in his palm. Milky white light spread out. It was as sharp as a blade. He slashed down at Ling Xiao from the sky. Heaven-measuring ruler. This was the primal Chaos Emperor's natal treasure. To a certain extent, it was even more powerful than the Bell of Chaos. He had been forced to the extreme by Ling Xiao. Without hesitation, he took out the heaven-measuring ruler. Break! Ling Xiao shouted. There seemed to be blazing sword radiance rising in his eyes. He pointed his finger at the primal Chaos Emperor. His finger radiance was dazzling. It was surrounded by an immortal luster. In an instant, it hit the heaven-measuring ruler. Boom! The heaven-measuring ruler trembled violently. The runes on it were destroyed inch by inch. In the end, it exploded. Ling Xiao's figure was ethereal and mysterious. In an instant, he was in front of the primal Chaos Emperor. The sharp finger radiance seemed to be able to pierce through everything. It did not lose its momentum and it landed on the primal Chaos Emperor's chest. Boom! The primal Chaos Emperor's physical body was like quicksand. In an instant, his vitality dissipated. He turned into ashes and completely disappeared from the world. The primal Chaos Emperor's indestructible primordial spirit was wrapped in chaotic light. It wanted to escape, but Ling Xiao grabbed it. Runes fell and sealed it. Then Ling Xiao kept it. The primal Chaos Emperor had to die. However, before he died, Ling Xiao had many doubts that he needed to verify. The primal Chaos Emperor had fallen. Seeing the Lord of Chaos, who had lived since ancient times and was known as an immortal existence, fall at the hands of Ling Xiao, the shock in everyone's hearts could not be any greater. They finally understood. The entire Eldritch world was about to undergo a drastic change. From then on, Ling Xiao was the real primal Chaos Emperor. Chapter 3375. Ling Xiao's gaze landed on the Flowing Time Emperor. The Flowing Time Emperor's face was bitter. It wasn't that he didn't think of escaping, but in front of Ling Xiao, he didn't even have the chance to do so. Ling Xiao controlled the Myriad Dao origin and easily imprisoned him and the Primal Chaos Emperor in this void. Ling Xiao, I submit. The Flowing Time Emperor took a deep breath and then knelt down on one knee. This action was beyond everyone's expectations. After all, the Flowing Time Emperor was also a figure from the First Era. He was extremely powerful and wasn't much weaker than the Primal Chaos Emperor and the other three sovereigns. As a great emperor, he naturally had the dignity of a great emperor. Everyone thought that the Flowing Time Emperor would fight to the death like the Primal Chaos Emperor. But what he didn't expect was that he would directly submit. Give me a reason not to kill you. Ling Xiao stared at the Flowing Time Emperor and said coldly. Although the Flowing Time Emperor's strength was extraordinary, Ling Xiao could easily crush him. Previously, he wanted to snatch Ling Xiao's Myriad Dao Golden Core and even joined forces with the Primal Chaos Emperor. In Ling Xiao's opinion, he deserved to die. The Lord of the Dark World is also a transcendent being. I can help you find him. The Flowing Time Emperor gritted his teeth and sent a voice transmission to Ling Xiao. Lord of the Dark World? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This news was extremely important to him. He had always thought that the Dark World wasn't simple. Who would have thought that there would be a transcendent being in the Dark World? Then, was the transcendent scroll that he found in the Dark World left behind by the Lord of the Dark World? Give me your origin spirit imprint. Ling Xiao thought for a moment and stared at the Flowing Time Emperor coldly. The Flowing Time Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. His life was saved. But if he had to give up his origin spirit imprint, he knew the consequences. Letting out a bitter laugh, the Flowing Time Emperor sent out a soul imprint from between his eyebrows, which was then collected by Ling Xiao. From now on, the life and death of the Flowing Time Emperor was only in Ling Xiao's hands. Tell fate and karma to come to the Sky Court and ask for forgiveness within 3 days. Otherwise, I will personally come and take their lives. Ling Xiao's gaze was indifferent. He swept his gaze across the surrounding void and said nonchalantly. Within the surrounding chaotic void, there were still many utmost powerful beings. Although they did not make a move, Ling Xiao knew that they would pass on the message. Go! The experts in the surrounding void were all frightened by Ling Xiao's gaze and immediately retreated into the distance. Ling Xiao has proven his Tao and transcended. He is destined to rule the great desolate world. Quickly go back and report this. In the future, we must not offend Ling Xiao and the human race. Those experts all had solemn expressions and were incomparably shocked. They knew that Ling Xiao had killed Chaotic Emperor in an incomparably domineering manner. This was probably Ling Xiao's way of warning the rest of the experts. Even the Primal Chaos Emperor had died in Ling Xiao's hands. Who else could be his match? Soon, the chaotic void was emptied. Only Ling Xiao, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, and the Flowing Time Emperor were left. Ling Xiao, congratulations on surpassing the Great Tao and becoming a true Great Emperor. The Kunwu Mountain Emperor looked at Ling Xiao with a tinge of regret in his eyes as he sighed softly. Thank you, Senior Emperor. However, Senior Emperor, can you explain why the Transcendence Tribulation is so terrifying? If not for Zhao Ritian's rescue, I would have died. How could I transcend? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain and said indifferently, It seems like you know everything. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain did not seem surprised and sighed softly. Should I address you as Senior Imperial Emperor, Or should I address you as Heavenly Tao? Ling Xiao said indifferently. What? Ling Xiao's words caused the Flowing Time Emperor to tremble. His eyes were filled with incomparable shock. You are the spirit of Heavenly Tao. The Flowing Time Emperor stared at the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain and said in shock. I see. I should have thought of it earlier. No wonder your cultivation has been stagnant at the Emperor realm, but you have such heaven-defying combat strength. No wonder you walked the path of unification of Tao, but did not covet the myriad Tao golden core. Instead, you helped Ling Xiao transcend. So you are the spirit of Heavenly Tao? Although the Flowing Time Emperor was shocked, he seemed to have thought of something. His eyes were filled with incomparable understanding. That's right. I am indeed the spirit of Heavenly Tao. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain nodded calmly and did not deny it. Ling Xiao, you have fused with 3 bodies. You should know that your previous life was the Heavenly Emperor. If you want to transcend, you have to sever all karma. You have to fuse with your previous life and this life. It is also destined that Zhao Ritian will face this tribulation. I did give him the 3 lives stone. He fused with 3 bodies and became a fateless one. That was why he could help you withstand the 3 lives nirvana tribulation. You, on the other hand, can truly transcend. I know that Zhao Ritian's death saddened you, but it was his own choice. I did not force him. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said calmly. You did not force him, but you killed him by telling him. Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly turned red and his face was filled with endless sorrow. An incomparably tyrannical aura seemed to rise around him. After fusing with the myriad Tao golden core and becoming a transcendent, he had transcended the great Tao origin and the heavenly Tao. He had finally seen the true identity of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. He had never imagined that while the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was the sacred mountain of the human race, his true identity was actually the spirit of Heavenly Tao. In the first era, the spirit of Heavenly Tao had been gravely injured in the Battle of Emperor's Fall and had fallen into a deep slumber. Who would have thought that he would fuse with Kunwu Mountain and become the protector of the human race? It was no wonder that the human race had not been wiped out for countless eras despite being weak and incomparably miserable. After all, with the protection of the Heavenly Tao and the blessing of the Heavenly Tao, the human race was a race blessed by the heavens. How could they possibly be wiped out? Therefore, Ling Xiao also knew that the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had not appeared when he was transcending the tribulation. It was most likely because the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was in charge of the tribulation. And to a certain extent, Zhao Ritian's death was caused by the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. I know you have resentment in your heart. If you want to vent your anger, feel free to attack me. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly. If killing you can exchange for Zhao Ritian's life, I will do it without hesitation. Whether I can transcend the tribulation is my own business. What right do you have to make the decision for me? Ling Xiao stared at the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain with anger surging in his eyes. Zhao Ritian was an opponent and a friend to him. Zhao Ritian had helped him without hesitation when he was in danger several times. In his heart, Zhao Ritian had long been the most important person. What he did not expect was that he was the celestial emperor in his past life and had a father-son relationship with Zhao Ritian. Although this relationship was subtle, it was precisely because of this that Zhao Ritian's death caused him so much pain that he wished he was dead. Ling Xiao, do you know what the consequences will be if you die under the tribulation? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly. If you die under the tribulation, no one in the Eldritch world will be able to transcend. Even if they obtain the myriad Tao golden core, they will not be able to become a true transcendent. At that time, the Your Wild's world will be completely buried by the immeasurable calamity, leaving no trace behind. You can die, but are you willing to let your wife, your parents, and your most beloved Chongqing die? Are you willing to let the old goat, Taoist Wu Liang, and your other friends die? Are you willing to let billions of people die? If you are not willing, then the Eldritch world will be destroyed and everything will cease to exist. Now, although Zhao Ritian is dead, you have transcended. After you transcend, the Eldritch world will have the chance to be truly eternal. By then, Zhao Ritian might be able to return. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said seriously. Zhao Ritian will return? What do you mean? Ling Zhao's body trembled as he stared at the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. In the tribulation, Zhao Ritian's soul was destroyed in order to help him pass through the 3 lives of nirvana tribulation. Even his true spirit was completely annihilated, never to be reincarnated. And now, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said that Zhao Ritian still had a chance to return? The reason why the prehistorical world collapsed in the immeasurable calamity was that the prehistorical world was not complete. It lacked a place for reincarnation. After death, there was no place for reincarnation. Without reincarnation, the origin of the prehistorical world would be exhausted, and it would be completely destroyed. However, if you can complete the reincarnation of the Eldritch world, you might be able to find Zhao Ritian's true spirit and let him reincarnate. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said seriously. How do I complete the reincarnation? Ling Xiao asked. The Void World. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain answered. What is the Void World? Ling Xiao was a little confused. He had never heard of this place. The Void World is the place where the world ends. After billions of worlds end, it is a special place that is formed. It is also the place where reincarnation is born. When the Void World opens and you enter the Void World, you will have a chance to complete the reincarnation. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly. When will the Void World open? Ling Xiao asked. I don't know. However, I'm afraid it will open soon. After all, you have transcended. The tribulation of the Eldritch world is coming. When the time comes, you can take the underworld ship and reach the Void World. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and he said slowly, What is the Dark World? And why is the Lord of the Dark World a transcender? The Dark World is the same as the Eldritch world. They are both primitive worlds that were born in the chaos. Back then, the Eldritch world's transcender, the Eldritch world's lord, and the Lord of the Dark World had a great battle. In the end, the Lord of the Dark World was severely injured and sealed, while the Eldritch world's lord disappeared without a trace. However, 108 eras have passed and the tribulation of the Eldritch world is coming. I'm afraid the Lord of the Dark World will break out of the seal soon. If he breaks out of the seal, he will definitely invade the Eldritch world. When the time comes, if you meet him, there will be a battle. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly. It was as if Ling Xiao had become the true master of the Eldritch world after attaining Dao transcendence. Therefore, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain no longer hid anything from Ling Xiao and told him everything. When the Void World opens, I will make a trip there. Ling Xiao nodded and said, Please believe that everything I've done is for the sake of this world's survival. As for Zhao Ritian, I'm very sorry. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain looked deeply at Ling Xiao and said, I hope what you said is true. After completing the cycle of reincarnation, I can save Zhao Ritian. Ling Xiao said calmly and then turned around to head to the Eldritch world. No matter what, he still had a grudge against the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. He knew that the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was not lying and that his transcendence would be greatly beneficial to everyone. However, it was not fair to Zhao Ritian. Zhao Ritian's last words were still echoing in Ling Zhao's mind. This time, you won't abandon me again. Every time he thought of it, he felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. I will save you. Definitely. Ling Xiao muttered to himself softly. The flowing time emperor followed behind him. The light in his eyes fluctuated and no one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 3376. P.S. I had a fever these past few days and was almost quarantined. My phone was also broken, so I haven't been able to update. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll try my best to make it up to everyone. The news of Ling Zhao's Dao affirmation and transcendence swept across the entire Eldritch continent like a hurricane. Countless experts of the Eldritch continent were shaken by this news. They were all filled with shock and awe. Many people didn't even know what transcendence was. To them, great emperors were invincible existences. But after someone explained, everyone was shocked. The so-called transcendents are supreme existences who have transcended the heavenly Tao and jumped out of the cycle of reincarnation. They are immortal and indestructible. They can also be called eternal great emperors. This is because in ancient times, only transcendents were true great emperors. The great emperors that we think of are only great emperors or fake great emperors. An incomparably ancient great demon emperor explained. The great demon emperor was said to be a descendant of the world tree. His original form was a towering divine tree. He was incomparably ancient and had lived for countless eras. He was also incomparably benevolent and deeply trusted by everyone. The demon spirit great emperor knew many secrets. After he came out to explain, everyone instantly understood. SSS, only transcendents are true great emperors? And the great emperors that we think of are just fake great emperors? This news will probably shock the entire Eldritch continent. So what? It said that in the first era, the so-called Battle of Emperors Fall was just a battle between a bunch of fake great emperors. If the true great emperors didn't appear, who could compete? Before Ling Zhao's Tao affirmation, he was already invincible. Now that he has become a transcendent, I'm afraid no one in the Eldritch continent can match him. News just came that Ling Xiao asked the Flowing Time Emperor and the Karma Emperor to go to the Ling Xiao Celestial Court and ask for punishment. What? The Flowing Time Emperor and the Karma Emperor aren't to be trifled with. They are known as two rulers and their strength is incomparably heaven-defying. Will they be willing to admit defeat? The Eldritch continent seemed to have been completely ignited because of Ling Zhao's Tao affirmation. Many powerful beings were discussing fervently. The human race was even more excited than the others. Originally, the news from the chaotic void made the human race feel as if they were facing a great enemy. They were all extremely worried, afraid that Ling Xiao would die under the attacks of so many experts. But what was unexpected was that not only did Ling Xiao not fall, he even rose up in defiance of the natural order and achieved transcendence. The Primal Chaos Emperor was known as the leader of the four sovereigns, but he had been killed by Ling Xiao with a single punch. The Flowing Time Emperor was an invincible expert who had survived from the first era. He had once stolen the source energy of the heavenly Tao. Now, he had been subdued by Ling Xiao and had become his servant. All of this gave the human race endless hope. The human race will definitely rule the primordial world and dominate the world. Celestial Emperor, did you see it? A trembling old man was holding a walking stick. His face was full of wrinkles, as if half of his body had already been buried. However, at this moment, his eyes were filled with incomparable excitement and gratification. Lord Ling Xiao will definitely lead the human race to a new era. Many supreme experts of the human race were inexplicably excited. Originally, many people were still unwilling to submit to the Ling Xiao Heavenly Court, but now, no one doubted anything. They all felt incomparably fortunate and honored. Ling Xiao Heavenly Court. Ling Xiao and the Flowing Time Emperor walked through the void. Greetings, Lord Ling Xiao. Lord Ling Xiao is the ruler of the world. Invincible and immortal. Within the Ling Xiao Heavenly Court, the eyes of the experts were filled with incomparable fanaticism and worship. They all knelt before Ling Xiao, and their voices were like thunder, shaking the 9 heavens. Although they were all fanatical followers of Ling Xiao, ever since they knew that Ling Xiao was actually Ling Zhao's clone, they all transferred their fanatical worship to Ling Xiao. Therefore, the entire Ling Xiao Heavenly Court was now Ling Zhao's loyal follower. Even if Ling Xiao asked them to die now, they would not even frown. Everyone, get up. Ling Xiao said calmly. He raised his hand, and suddenly, an invisible force spread out. Throughout the Ling Xiao Heavenly Court, the millions of experts who were kneeling could not help but stand up. One had to know that there was no lack of sage rulers and even imperial emperors among them. However, they did not even notice any energy fluctuations and stood up involuntarily, as if they had lost control of their bodies. Instead of being shocked, they were overjoyed, and the fanaticism in their eyes became even stronger. Looking at the vast sea of faith clouds in front of him and the golden dragon of providence that was hundreds of millions of feet long, Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with emotion. He had succeeded in proving his Tao and transcending. However, Ling Xiao of faith, Ling Xiao of darkness, and Zhao Riqian had all fallen. Ling Xiao of faith and Ling Xiao of darkness had already proven their Tao and become emperors. They had cut off the connection with Ling Xiao's main body and became independent individuals. Even if Ling Xiao fell, they would not die. They could have not gotten involved in this mess, but they still chose to die for Ling Xiao. Zhao Riqian was the same. Although the primordial spirits of faith and darkness have merged into my body, their true spirits have been completely shattered. Unless I can reconstruct the cycle of reincarnation, there's no hope for them to be resurrected. Ling Xiao thought to himself. With his current means, it was not difficult for him to split two primordial spirits and reconstruct the clones of darkness and faith. However, they were no longer darkness and faith. Their true spirits had been shattered and dissipated in the chaotic void. Even with Ling Xiao's means, it was impossible for him to collect all of them. Unless he could reconstruct the cycle of reincarnation and use the power of reincarnation to guide their true spirits back. It seems like I have to make a trip to the void world no matter what. Ling Xiao thought to himself. His figure landed in the heavenly court like a stream of light. Many familiar faces came into view in the heavenly court. Jin Sei Changxing, the old goat, Taoist Wu Yang, Duguchubai, Yi Liangchen, the white dragon horse, and the others were all extremely excited. Brother Ling Xiao, you're fine. Thank goodness you're fine. Jin Sei's face was filled with a warm and bright smile, but as she smiled and smiled, tears began to flow down her face. Ling Xiao's heart trembled slightly. He walked forward and hugged Jin Sei. Feeling Jin Sei's trembling body, Ling Xiao hugged her even tighter. Daddy, Changsheng has grown up. Changsheng will help Daddy beat up the bad guys in the future. Changsheng held Ling Xiao's hand obediently and raised her head. Her beautiful big eyes were filled with determination. Everyone smiled as they watched the scene unfold before them. No one came forward to disturb them. Everyone's heart was filled with the joy of surviving a calamity. Although they had been well protected by the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, if Ling Xiao had really died, it would have been tantamount to the collapse of their pillar of support. Now that Ling Xiao had returned safely and with the status of being the strongest in the world, they were all excited and proud. Where's Xue Wei? Ling Xiao chatted with everyone for a while, but when he found that Xue Wei was missing from the crowd, a trace of doubt appeared in his eyes. He could not sense Xue Wei's aura in the entire Ling Xiao celestial court. Xue Wei was taken away by the reincarnation emperor. Jin Sei looked at Ling Xiao and said, "What?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Previously, when he was crossing the Transcendence Tribulation, the reincarnation emperor and Luoluo had helped him. However, he did not expect Xue Wei to be taken away by the reincarnation emperor. Xue Wei is the daughter of the reincarnation emperor. Behind him, the emperor of Kunwu Mountain's voice sounded. The daughter of the reincarnation emperor? Isn't Xue Wei the daughter of the Scarlet Dragon War God, the weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book? Ling Xiao turned around and looked at the emperor of Kunwu Mountain with some doubt. It's a long story. The emperor of Kunwu Mountain sighed softly. You should have seen that the reincarnation emperor is different from the other three because he has his own goals and wants to take revenge. What he wants to do most is to reshape the reincarnation cycle of this world, and let this world completely transcend the restrictions of life and death to become an eternal world. However, although the Lord of the Dark World is asleep, many creatures in the Dark World want to invade the untainted world at all times. Therefore, the Reincarnation Emperor has been guarding the Dark World all these years. In addition to monitoring the Lord of the Dark World, he also wants to prevent the creatures in the Dark World from invading the untainted world. The Reincarnation Emperor's two daughters, Luoluo and Xue Wei, were reincarnated in the untainted world in a special way. Of course, it was not a real reincarnation, but more like a nirvana rebirth. However, in the process of reincarnation, they were used by the Scarlet Dragon War God to help you. However, the Reincarnation Emperor saw through this and took Luoluo away after you ascended. The reason why Xue Wei stayed in the divine world is that she needs to have children with you. The children of Yu and Shui Wei are the nemesis of the Lord of the Dark World. This time, he felt that the Lord of the Dark World was about to wake up, so he took Shui Wei away to completely suppress the Lord of the Dark World and reshape the reincarnation cycle. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain explained. Children? Suppress the Lord of the Dark World? If that's the case, then Shui Wei? Ling Zhao's heart trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. That's right. When Shui Wei left, she was already pregnant with your child. When the child is born, it will be the time for the reincarnation emperor to suppress the Lord of the Dark World. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain nodded. My child. Damn it. The reincarnation emperor wants to use my child to suppress the Lord of the Dark World? Ling Zhao's heart trembled. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, his expression changed abruptly and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. The child of Yu and Shui Wei is an innate reincarnation body and contains a trace of innate reincarnation power. The reincarnation emperor can use this power to suppress the Lord of the Dark World. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain seemed to know what Ling Zhao was thinking and said slowly, At that time, I was protecting you. If the reincarnation emperor wanted to take Shui Wei away, no one could stop him. Moreover, even if I was there, I could not stop the reincarnation emperor. His true strength is not far from the transcendence realm. Chapter 3377. What will happen to my son and Shui Wei's son after the Lord of the Dark World is suppressed? Ling Zhao asked expressionlessly. His voice was bone-chilling. His life will not be in danger, but he will lose a trace of the innate reincarnation power. He will turn from an innate reincarnation body to a mortal body. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain replied. Damn it. Even if my life is not in danger, I will not let Shui Wei and my son come to any harm. So what if he is the Lord of the Dark World? If the reincarnation emperor can't suppress him, I will. Ling Zhao's eyes were full of murderous intent. There seemed to be lightning flashing around him as if he was going to break through the void and go to the Dark World in the next moment. Although you have transcended, you have not completely integrated with the myriad Tao Golden Core. I'm afraid there is a big gap between your strength and that of the Lord of the Dark World. The Lord of the Dark World is about to be born. The reincarnation emperor must have seen this, so he came up with this plan. In my opinion, you should go to the void world as soon as possible to rebuild the reincarnation in this world. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said seriously. The void world has opened? Ling Zhao asked. That's right. The void world has opened. I'm afraid the lords of the various worlds will go to the void world to fight for the opportunity to rebuild the reincarnation. Ling Zhao, if the opportunity to rebuild the reincarnation falls into the hands of others, the Eldritch world will be completely destroyed. Except for you, everyone will die. So you can't be impulsive. Your son and Shui Wei's son will not die. On the contrary, if you go to the Dark World now and miss the real opportunity, he will die. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said sincerely. Reason tells me that what you said is right and the best choice. But I don't want my son and Shui Wei's son to be hurt. So I have to go to the Dark World. As for the opportunity to rebuild the reincarnation, if it is taken by others, I will take it back. I will kill anyone who dares to stop me. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply, and his body emitted a murderous aura. Seeing that Ling Zhao had made up his mind, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain could not help but smile bitterly. He knew that he could not stop Ling Zhao. He hoped that the opportunity to rebuild the reincarnation in the void world would not be taken by others so quickly. Ling Zhao, come out and accept your death. At this moment, a cold voice exploded in the sky of the Ling Zhao celestial court. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled, and the great Tao rumbled. Two figures with torrential auras appeared above the 9 heavens, emitting a boundless murderous aura. One of them was tall, with a green face and fangs, and a pair of wings on his back. His body was extremely powerful, and he emitted a kind of immortal fluctuation. One of them had a feminine and handsome face, and his entire body seemed to be one with the darkness. In his eyes, There were mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and there was an endless hell. He was like a ghost king of the netherworld. It was Emperor Hanba and Emperor Impermanence. A cold glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he shot up into the sky. Rumble. Thunder rumbled in the surroundings as heaven and earth shook violently. Ling Xiao's body seemed to be enveloped by a layer of void fire. That incomparably terrifying aura made the entire eldritch continent tremble slightly. Die! Ling Xiao's face was incomparably cold as he emitted a torrential murderous aura. He punched out, and an unparalleled fist print seemed to fill the sky in an instant, enveloping Emperor Hanba and Emperor Impermanence. Ling Xiao knew from the primordial spirit of Emperor Impermanence that these two were the subordinates of the Lord of the Dark World. Their battle strength was close to that of a transcendent expert, and their strength was incomparably terrifying. Even Emperor Impermanence was no match for them. Ling Xiao's heart was filled with anger. Just as he was about to head to the Dark World, these two people came to the Ling Xiao celestial court and even asked Ling Xiao to come out and die. Therefore, Ling Xiao did not waste any time talking to them. He immediately attacked. How dare you! Emperor Hanba's eyes flashed with murderous intent as a torrential corpse aura rose from his body. He flapped his wings and punched towards Ling Xiao. Emperor Impermanence also charged towards Ling Xiao. Black light rose from his body, and in an instant, thousands of black shadows appeared in the void and pounced towards Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Rumble. The two fists collided, and the void trembled. Emperor Hanba's body trembled, and his arms suddenly exploded, turning into a pile of dust. His entire body was violently sent flying. Scram! Ling Xiao's expression was incomparably cold. With a roar, it was as if his words were the law. In an instant, a dazzling golden glow bloomed around him. Runes rose up one after another like the laws of the world. They turned into bolts of lightning and collided with the black shadows that filled the sky. The black shadows were formed by Emperor Impermanence's primordial spirit power, but they all collapsed at this moment. Emperor Impermanence's entire body trembled violently as if he had been hit by an invisible force. He suddenly coughed out a mouthful of blood and was instantly sent flying. What? He hasn't completely refined the myriad path golden core? How can he be so strong? Emperor Hanba and Emperor Impermanence's eyes were filled with disbelief. Although Ling Xiao had passed the Transcendence Tribulation, they knew better than anyone that after passing the Transcendence Tribulation, although one could be called a transcendent, merging with the myriad path golden core was a long process. Only by completely merging with the myriad path golden core would one be able to unleash the ultimate power of a transcendent. In their opinion, no matter how strong Ling Xiao was now, he was probably on the same level as Emperor Impermanence. They never thought that Ling Xiao would unleash such heaven-defying battle strength right from the start. Rumble. Ling Xiao's expression was extremely cold. He took a step forward, and time seemed to stop. In an instant he was in front of Emperor Hanba and punched out again. Emperor Hanba seemed to have thought of something when he sensed Ling Xiao's mysterious and transcendent aura. He couldn't help but tremble all over. You merged with 3 bodies. How is that possible? His voice was filled with horror as if he had seen a ghost. However, in the next moment, Ling Xiao's unparalleled fist print was already in front of him. Emperor Hanba could even feel his primordial spirit trembling from the punch. It was as if his soul was about to be destroyed. There was no way he could block that punch. Destiny Emperor, how dare you mislead me? You deserve to die. The drought demon martial monarch let out a cry of despair. Boom. His voice came to an abrupt halt when Ling Xiao's punch landed on his chest. Then, his indestructible body that was comparable to an apex emperor weapon crumbled like sand. Even his primordial spirit crumbled and turned into ashes, disappearing from the world. It was as if he had been completely wiped out. Seeing this, Impermanence Emperor was so scared that his entire body trembled. He turned around and dashed away without saying a word. Just like Emperor Hanba, he hated Destiny Emperor to the core. They had come to cause trouble for Ling Xiao because of Destiny Emperor's instigation. Destiny Emperor had pretended to side with the Lord of the Dark World and told them that Ling Xiao had just passed the Transcendence Tribulation. However, he had hidden the fact that Ling Xiao had merged with 3 bodies. If they had known that Ling Xiao had merged with 3 bodies, they would not have dared to cause trouble for Ling Xiao even if they had 10 times the guts. In the next moment, Ling Xiao appeared in front of Emperor Impermanence. He reached out and grabbed Emperor Impermanence by the neck, lifting him up. A mysterious force invaded Emperor Impermanence's body, rendering him immobile. His heart was filled with despair when he saw the cold expression on Ling Xiao's face. "Lord Ling Xiao, please spare my life. We are the servants of the Lord of the Dark World. If we had known that you had merged with 3 bodies, we would not have dared to offend you. It was Destiny Emperor who asked us to steal your myriad Dao golden core." Emperor Impermanence's voice was trembling as he spoke. "Destiny Emperor? You really don't know what's good for you." Ling Xiao's eyes glinted coldly. He had sent word for Destiny Emperor and Karma Emperor to come and beg for forgiveness. Who would have thought that they would dare to play such dirty tricks? Drought Emperor and Impermanence Emperor were indeed strong. They were not weaker than Chaos Emperor at his peak, but they were nothing but ants in front of Ling Xiao. Without transcending, one would not know the true strength of a transcendent. Not to mention that Ling Xiao had merged with 3 bodies. He was one with the heavens and immortal. Even if he had not completely merged with the myriad Dao golden core, he was not afraid of the Lord of the Dark World. Boom! Flames of nothingness rose from Ling Xiao's palm and enveloped Emperor Impermanence. Emperor Impermanence let out a cry of despair and turned into ashes, disappearing from the world. Drought Emperor and Impermanence Emperor had charged over, but no one had expected that they would be killed without even being able to retaliate. The powerful great emperors were all trembling with fear. Their eyes were filled with fear. Ling Xiao's strength had given them a deeper understanding of him. Ling Xiao ignored them and returned to the Ling Xiao Celestial Court. To him, killing Drought Emperor and Impermanence Emperor was as easy as crushing 2 ants. Ling Xiao, Destiny Emperor and Karma Emperor have left the Eldritch World. It seems that they have gone to the Void World. Not only does the Void World have the opportunity to reshape reincarnation, but it also has the inheritance of a transcendent. It seems that they are unwilling to submit, so they want to take a gamble in the Void World. I suggest that you go to the Void World now. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said seriously. "No. Before going to the Void World, I want to make a trip to the Dark World." Ling Xiao shook his head. He felt increasingly uneasy. The Reincarnation Emperor wanted to use his and Shui Wei's son to suppress the Lord of the Dark World. Although Ling Xiao was furious, he was more worried. Although the Reincarnation Emperor was strong, he was not a transcendent. He probably could not imagine the strength of a transcendent, especially the Lord of the Dark World, who had existed for more than 100 eras. It was hard to imagine how strong he was now. If the Reincarnation Emperor was not careful, it would not only be Ling Xiao's son who would have his innate reincarnation power extracted. Shui Wei and his son would be in danger. He had to go to the Dark World immediately. "All right, but you'd better not spend too much time in the Dark World. You must go to the Void World as soon as possible." The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain knew that he could not stop Ling Xiao and sighed. "Senior Emperor, please take care of the Ling Xiao Celestial Court." Ling Xiao nodded, turned around, and took a step forward toward the chaotic void. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was extremely strong. He was the spirit of the heavenly Tao. In the current Eldritch world, no one could pose a threat to him. Moreover, Ling Xiao had left the Flowing Time Emperor behind. The Ling Xiao Celestial Court should be safe. In order to let Ling Xiao go to the Void World with peace of mind, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain would definitely do his best to protect Ling Xiao's friends and family. After all, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain also hoped to borrow Ling Xiao's power to reshape reincarnation and allow the Eldritch world to completely transcend the apex. Chapter 3378. Looking from the Endless Chaos, Dark Realm and Eldritch World looked like two huge balls. They were very close to each other and were connected by a twisted passageway. The passageway seemed to be sealed by some mysterious power. Even a great Emperor expert would find it difficult to open it. But that kind of seal was nothing to Ling Xiao. He waved his sleeve and a mysterious power spread out. It was as if a void door had opened. The vast and mysterious power of space-time flowed and an ancient passageway appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Swoosh! Ling Xiao took a step forward. Like a stream of light, he entered the dark world instantly. Dark Realm. This was an incomparably mysterious and ancient world. It seemed to be even vaster than the untainted world. The void was filled with a layer of strange black mist. The black mist seemed to be able to erode everything, and there were many powerful and strange creatures hidden in it. To the creatures in Eldritch World, the black mist was a kind of poison. If they came into contact with it, it would erode their physical body and primordial spirit. However, to the creatures in Dark Realm, the black mist was the source of their power. The black mist is a kind of extremely pure dark energy. It is the opposite of the origin energy of Eldritch World. The black mist floated in Ling Xiao's palm as if it had a mind of its own. It wanted to enter Ling Xiao's palm. However, Ling Xiao's palm was filled with a blurry light. It was immortal and mysterious. It seemed to be able to disperse all energy. Ling Xiao guided a bit of the black mist into his body. This type of dark energy was extremely destructive and corrosive, and it even had an extremely strange life force. Although it was difficult to refine, it was nothing to Ling Xiao. He refined it in an instant. Dark Realm is so strange. It seems to be the dark side of Eldritch World? Ling Xiao guessed in his heart. He was a transcender. He had surpassed the heavens' way. With his current realm, he could observe all the heavens with a single thought. Although Dark Realm was vast, it was nothing to him. After entering Dark Realm, it was as if he could see everything. Previously, the evil spirit had guessed that Eldritch World and Dark Realm were like the yin and yang sides of a great universe. The two sides combined to form a real universe. Now that Ling Xiao had transcended, he vaguely felt that perhaps the evil spirit's guess was right. The evil spirit is still hidden in the wordless heavenly book. I wonder if it will be discovered by the artifact spirit? Ling Xiao thought to himself. After all, the Scarlet Dragon War God was the real tool spirit of the wordless heavenly book. The evil spirit was just a pseudo-tool spirit. In Ling Xiao's opinion, the evil spirit was likely to have been erased by the Scarlet Dragon War God. If what the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said is true, I'm afraid the Scarlet Dragon War Immortal should have gone to the Void World by now, right? Ling Xiao thought to himself. In the center of the Dark World, the Golden Mountain exuded a mysterious and immortal light. It was as if it could dispel all the black mist and prevent those strange creatures from approaching. The last time he came to the Dark World, he only caught a glimpse of it. In the end, he fought for the secret of transcendence in the Golden Mountain. The Transcendence Scroll that appeared in the Golden Mountain allowed Ling Xiao to obtain the complete fate-reversing art. That Transcendence Scroll might have been left behind by the former Chaos Lord, right? However, since the Dark Realm Master has been sealed, where is the Chaos Master? Ling Xiao guessed. Although he had now attained Dao Transcendence, there were still many unknowns for Ling Xiao. The most important thing now is to find Shui Wei's whereabouts. Ling Xiao whispered to himself. His thoughts spread out and spread toward the Dark World, as if the entire Dark World was under his control. This feeling was very strange. Soon, Ling Xiao found Shui Wei's whereabouts. Shui Wei is on the Golden Mountain? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He saw Shui Wei, who was dressed in white and looked extremely pale, sitting cross-legged on the top of the Golden Mountain at this moment. The surrounding black mist surged as if there were countless strange creatures in it, but none of them dared to approach the Golden Mountain. Ling Xiao tore the space and took a step forward. The next moment, he appeared on the Golden Mountain. Shui Wei! Ling Xiao called out softly. Seeing Shui Wei in front of him, Ling Xiao's eyes were full of pity. Shui Wei's face was a little pale at this moment, as if her vitality had been greatly damaged. Her lower abdomen was slightly bulging, as if there was life in it. "That's my child." Ling Xiao was extremely excited. "Young master." Shui Wei's body trembled as she suddenly turned her head. Seeing Ling Xiao in the void above, she was instantly overjoyed. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something, and her expression became extremely anxious. She hurriedly said to Ling Xiao, "Young master, hurry up and leave. It's dangerous here." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He felt that the Golden Mountain seemed to be emitting an extremely dangerous aura. It was a kind of fluctuation that made him feel danger. There was no fluctuation of a formation here, nor were there any powerful creatures. Why did it give him such a feeling? "Even if I have to leave, I'll take you with me." Ling Xiao sneered in his heart. Although he did not know where the danger came from, he was very clear that it was probably a trick left behind by the Reincarnation Emperor. He took a step forward and instantly arrived beside Shui Wei. "Young master, you shouldn't have come. It's very dangerous here." The Lord of the Dark World is suppressed under this mountain. He's about to come out. Shui Wei's eyes were filled with anxiety as she said to Ling Xiao, "Lord of the Dark World? Why didn't I sense his existence?" "Shui Wei, don't be afraid. Even if it's the Lord of the Dark World, he won't be able to hurt you and the child in your belly." Ling Xiao said slowly with a trace of determination in his eyes. "Ling Xiao, you shouldn't have come." An old voice resounded in the void. In front of him, light flashed and two figures appeared in the void. They were the Reincarnation Emperor and Luoluo. The voice just now came from the Reincarnation Emperor. "Reincarnation Emperor, I don't care if you want to suppress the Lord of the Dark World. But if you want to put Shui Wei and our child in danger, I won't agree." Ling Xiao stared at the reincarnation path and said coldly, "Shui Wei is my daughter. She has her own destiny. It's her destiny to suppress the Lord of the Dark World. Ling Xiao, you also have your own destiny. It's your destiny to go to the Void World and reshape the reincarnation cycle in this world." The Reincarnation Emperor was not angry. Instead, he looked at Ling Xiao and said, "Brother Ling Xiao, don't worry. I'll protect my sister and won't let any harm come to her. Go to the Void World quickly." Luoluo also looked at Ling Xiao with some concern. "Destiny? I, Ling Xiao, have walked all the way to where I am today. I've never believed in fate. Today, if anyone dares to hurt Shui Wei, I won't go easy on them, including you." Ling Xiao said coldly as he stared at the Reincarnation Emperor with a tinge of arrogance in his eyes. He took a step forward and walked toward Shui Wei. Rumble. At this moment, a blazing light rose around Shui Wei's body. It was as if there were 6 mysterious lights rising up, like a hexagram array, instantly shooting into the sky. 6 dazzling light pillars formed a mysterious space and trapped Shui Wei in it like a prison. At the same time, a mysterious force surged into Shui Wei's body. "Open!" Ling Xiao's eyes turned cold as he threw out a punch. His fist print could annihilate everything and was unparalleled. Even someone as powerful as the Drought Emperor could not withstand his punch. However, when his punch hit the light pillar, it was as if he had hit an immortal metal. The light pillar trembled slightly and emitted a dazzling light. "It's useless." This is the 6 Paths of Reincarnation array. It contains the power of reincarnation. Although you are a transcendent, you won't be able to break this array in a short time. Ling Xiao, get out of the way. I want to use the power of the 6 Paths of Reincarnation array to suppress the Lord of the Dark World. Otherwise, if he comes out, I'm afraid you won't be able to get the opportunity to reconstruct reincarnation." The Reincarnation Emperor said calmly. He stepped into the void and his aura was ethereal and mysterious. It was as if he had formed a mysterious connection with Shui Wei. There seemed to be a mysterious reincarnation aura in Shui Wei's body that wanted to rush out of her body and merge with the Reincarnation Emperor. Seeing this, Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with a monstrous killing intent. He knew that the Reincarnation Emperor was extracting the innate reincarnation power. It was the power that belonged to his and Shui Wei's child. "Brother Ling Xiao, please leave. I've let you down." But for your survival and to suppress the Lord of the Dark World, please pretend that you have never seen me." Shui Wei's eyes were red and tears streamed down her face. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Her eyes were filled with deep affection and reluctance to part with Ling Xiao. There was also a deep sense of guilt and desperation in her eyes. So what if it's the 6 paths of reincarnation array? So what if it's the Lord of the Dark World? Shui Wei, I want to save you. Who in this world dares to stop me? Ling Xiao seemed to have gone mad. His eyes were extremely sharp, and it was as if a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood were boiling. The monstrous aura around him exploded. His body exuded an eternal radiance. The myriad golden cores in his body were merging rapidly. The mysterious power merged with his arm, and the entire world seemed to be trembling violently. Like an earth-shattering thunderbolt, Ling Xiao's fist print was extremely dazzling. In an instant, it landed on the 6 paths of reincarnation array. The dazzling light pillar seemed to contain the power of a golden mountain. It also seemed to contain some kind of transcendent aura. It was originally sturdy and immortal. However, under Ling Xiao's fist, it trembled violently. In the end, a crisp sound rang out and a crack appeared on the dazzling light pillar. What? Seeing this scene, even the Reincarnation Emperor revealed an incredulous expression. He was extremely shocked. The 6 dazzling light pillars pierced through the heavens and the earth. At the same time, they contained an endless power. However, under Ling Xiao's fist, they exploded instantly. The 6 paths of reincarnation array was shattered. Ling Xiao pulled the pale-faced Shui Wei up and pulled her into his embrace. Oh no! The Reincarnation Emperor's expression changed drastically. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Although he was injured by the backlash of the 6 paths of reincarnation array, his eyes were fixed on the Golden Mountain. On the Golden Mountain, tiny cracks spread out. An ancient and terrifying aura gushed out from it. The black mist in the surroundings surged violently. The strange creatures seemed to have gone mad, revealing their blood-red eyes as they suddenly lunged toward the Golden Mountain. Chapter 3379. The Lord of the Dark World has come out. Ling Xiao, I'll hold him back. You take Shui Wei and Luoluo and leave this place quickly. The Samsara Emperor's face was extremely solemn as he hurriedly said to Ling Xiao. Rumble. The Golden Mountain shook violently and a terrifying aura gushed out from it. The cracks on the Golden Mountain grew deeper and deeper as though it was going to collapse at any moment. Black mist rose from the surroundings. The strange creatures seemed to have gone mad and wanted to rush over in a frenzy. The Lord of the Dark World was sealed under the Golden Mountain. He was the master of all the creatures in the Dark World. They seemed to be welcoming the birth of the Lord of the Dark World and were extremely excited. So what if he's the Lord of the Dark World? You can't stop him. Only I can fight with him. Ling Xiao said slowly as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. He could feel that there seemed to be a terrifying creature awakening within the Golden Mountain. That terrifying aura made him feel a strong sense of threat. However, Ling Xiao did not intend to leave. The Eldritch World and the Dark World were destined to merge. Between him and the Lord of the Dark World, only one of them could survive. Ling Xiao, although you have attained Tao Transcendence, the strength of the Lord of the Dark World is beyond your imagination. 108 years ago, the Lord of the Eldritch World could not kill him. He could only seal him here. You are no match for him. The Reincarnation Emperor said with a solemn expression. How would I know if I don't fight? Ling Xiao sneered. His eyes were brimming with an unparalleled fighting spirit. Rumble. At this moment, the Golden Mountain shook violently. In the end, a terrifying black divine light gushed out from it and the Golden Mountain exploded into pieces. At the bottom of the Golden Mountain, there was a huge crater. Black light spewed out from the crater, exuding extremely pure dark energy. An incomparably powerful aura had awoken from within. In the void, black lightning intertwined. The void distorted violently and the earth trembled. Boundless black mist surged in from all directions. Many strange creatures appeared around the pit and let out creepy sounds. It was as though they were welcoming their king. The aura of a transcendent. Desolate, are you still alive? An old and cold voice rang out, causing everyone to tremble. From the deep pit, a mysterious figure shot up into the sky, exuding an unparalleled murderous aura. It was as if a chaos demon god had come into being, terrifying to the extreme. A black-robed elder appeared in front of Ling Xiao and the Samsara Emperor from the boundless black light. His figure was tall, and his face was extremely old. His eyes were filled with cruelty, coldness, indifference, and killing intent. The aura around him was extremely distorted, and there was a black lightning mark between his brows. It added a terrifying aura to him. The Lord of the Dark World was born. Aren't you from the primordial world? Has it been so many years? Another transcendent has appeared in the Your Wild's world? The eyes of the Master of the Dark World landed on Ling Xiao, with a hint of judgment, high and mighty. As for the Reincarnation Emperor, Shui Wei and Luo Luo, he completely ignored them. Only Ling Xiao, who was also a Nirvana-level expert, could enter his eyes. The others were nothing more than ants in his eyes, not even worth mentioning. You are the Lord of the Dark World? Ling Xiao's eyes were extremely sharp as he stared at the Lord of the Dark World. Yes, I am. Have you just passed the Transcendence Tribulation? Although you are a Transcendent, you do not have the combat strength of a Transcendent. Kneel down and submit to me, and I will spare your life. The Lord of the Dark World stared at Ling Xiao coldly and said, If you want me to submit to you, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Ling Xiao said flatly, You want to fight with me? Pa. You are overestimating yourself. If it wasn't for the trap set by that despicable Desolate, how could I have been sealed for so long? Since you don't know what's good for you, I will fulfill your wish. The Lord of the Dark World sneered and his eyes were filled with mockery. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, he instantly attacked. A huge palm slammed down on Ling Xiao. The unparalleled palm print seemed to be able to suppress everything. It was like a black curtain that covered the sky and the earth. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Sensing the power and terror of the palm, Ling Xiao was not afraid at all. Instead, his fighting spirit became even stronger. He threw out a punch and the unparalleled fist print was surrounded by chaotic light. It was as if there were 3,000 worlds pressing down from the sky. It collided with the Lord of the Dark World instantly. The void trembled violently as if it was about to be completely annihilated. Terrifying fluctuations spread out and large patches of black mist were annihilated. The strange creatures were turned into dust. Ling Xiao's body shook violently and he was sent flying. As for the Lord of the Dark World, his body swayed slightly and he threw out another palm to suppress Ling Xiao. You just passed the Transcendence Tribulation and you have such combat strength? It seems that I have underestimated you. You have obtained the inheritance of the Desolate? In that case, all the more I can't let you live. The Lord of the Dark World's eyes were deep and there was a strong murderous intent in them. He sensed the aura of the Desolate Lord from Ling Xiao. He and the Desolate Lord could be said to be mortal enemies. He had been sealed by the Desolate Lord for so many years. Even though the Desolate Lord had disappeared, his hatred for the Desolate Lord did not decrease. Instead, it increased day by day. Now that he sensed the aura of the Desolate Lord from Ling Xiao, his murderous intent grew stronger. The Lord of the Dark World is indeed powerful. If the 6 paths of reincarnation formation had not been broken by Ling Xiao, I would have been able to severely injure him even if I could not kill him with the help of the innate reincarnation power. Now, even with the help of Ling Xiao, it would be difficult for me to defeat the Lord of the Dark World. When the Reincarnation Emperor saw the scene before him, his eyes were filled with worry. Luo, leave with Shui Wei first. The Reincarnation Emperor turned to look at Luo. Light flashed in his palm and an ancient sword appeared. Then, he slashed at the Lord of the Dark World. Although Lolua's eyes were filled with worry, she knew that she could not afford to distract the Reincarnation Emperor and Ling Xiao. She gritted her teeth and activated the sky-burying coffin to keep Shui away. Then, the sky-burying coffin soared into the sky and pierced through the thick black fog toward the passageway of the chaotic world. Although the strange creatures in the black fog did not dare to get involved in the battle between the Lord of the Dark World and Ling Xiao, when they saw the sky-burying coffin, they all chased after Luo like cats that had seen a fish. The reincarnation ancient sword in the reincarnation emperor's hand surged with sword qi. It was as though it was surrounded by the 3,000 great Tao origins and was extremely sharp. How dare you! The Lord of the Dark World's eyes flashed fiercely. He pointed his finger and a pitch-black finger radiance collided with the ancient reincarnation sword. The ancient reincarnation sword buzzed and the 3,000 great Tao origins on it seemed to have collapsed in an instant. However, the ancient reincarnation sword was extremely sturdy and indestructible. With a clear trembling sound, it turned into a sharp sword radiance and pierced toward the glabella of the Lord of the Dark World. The Lord of the Dark World was surprised. He had thought that the reincarnation emperor was just an ant that he could crush easily. However, it seemed that the reincarnation emperor was extremely powerful. He was comparable to an ordinary transcendent realm expert, especially the ancient reincarnation sword. It seemed to contain a mysterious power that made the Lord of the Dark World feel a sense of danger. Boom! The Lord of the Dark World slashed down with his palm. The black blade radiance seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth. It was extremely sharp and ferocious. In an instant, it collided with the ancient reincarnation sword. The ancient reincarnation sword trembled violently and the sword qi was destroyed. The blade radiance was extremely ferocious. It sent the reincarnation emperor and the ancient reincarnation sword flying. Die! Ling Xiao's eyes were extremely cold. His fighting spirit surged and his blood seemed to be boiling. An unparalleled fist print swept across the void and pressed down on the Lord of the Dark World. The myriad golden core in his body seemed to be fusing continuously during the battle between Ling Xiao and the Lord of the Dark World. Originally, fusing with the myriad Tao golden core was a painstaking effort. In the process of fusing with the myriad Tao golden core, Ling Xiao gradually understood the power of the 3,000 great path origins. It was like a process of pouring water into a bucket, and his strength gradually reached its peak. However, it still required a lot of time. Now, during the battle with the Lord of the Dark World, the fusion process seemed to have been accelerated. Rumble! The ferocious fist print was the sovereign's fist that Ling Xiao had comprehended. It could destroy everything. It could pierce through the epic and suppress the heavens. It was extremely powerful. The Lord of the Dark World snorted. After sending the reincarnation emperor flying, he slashed down on Ling Xiao with his palm. At the same time, there seemed to be a dark vortex around the Lord of the Dark World. Black mist gushed into his body crazily, causing his aura to become more and more terrifying. After being suppressed for so many years, the Lord of the Dark World had lost a lot of his strength. The dark energy in the Dark World continued to surge, pushing his strength to skyrocket. Boom! The void shook. The black saber radiance seemed to be able to destroy everything. However, when it collided with Ling Xiao's fist print, the saber radiance and the fist print were instantly annihilated. Ling Xiao's eyes were extremely cold. His fighting spirit surged and he was like a chaotic divine demon. He soared across the sky and attacked the Lord of the Dark World. The Dark Realm Lord's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. At the beginning, although Ling Xiao was strong, he did not take him seriously. However, he realized that Ling Xiao's fighting strength was skyrocketing. The horrifying fist print seemed to be able to destroy everything. The Lord of the Dark World was shocked. He has fused 3 bodies? The Lord of the Dark World's eyes narrowed. He seemed to have discovered something and he was in disbelief. Chapter 3380. The Lord of the Dark World was filled with shock and disbelief. Even when he saw Ling Xiao become a transcender, he wasn't that surprised. However, after seeing Ling Xiao merge with his 3 bodies, the Lord of the Dark World was completely shocked. Even the Lord of the Dark World hadn't completely merged with his 3 bodies. He had only merged with his previous body. However, he couldn't merge with his future body. However, the Lord of the Dark World knew better than anyone else how terrifying the power would be after merging with his 3 bodies. It was a power that would make a transcender feel fear. I can't let him live. Otherwise, he will become even more terrifying than the Chaos Master in the future. When that time comes, I might really die in his hands. The Lord of the Dark World looked at Ling Xiao with a murderous look. Rumble. Black divine light rose from his body and the surrounding void trembled violently. The power of the entire Dark World seemed to be supporting the Lord of the Dark World. His body exuded a terrifying aura like that of a chaotic divine demon. It was as if he could destroy the world. Stars revolved around him and the world was destroyed. All sorts of terrifying scenes appeared. His aura seemed to have increased by 10 times or 100 times in an instant. Die! The Lord of the Dark World roared. His eyes were extremely cold. Black divine light surged out from his palm. In an instant, it was like a vast sea that enveloped Ling Xiao. In the Black Sea, there were powerful and strange creatures. They were like ancient beasts that pounced on Ling Xiao continuously. At the same time, beams of black light that contained the power to pierce through the primordial spirit shot towards Ling Xiao like sword chi intertwining. Ling Xiao felt an extremely strong threat from the Lord of the Dark World. The Lord of the Dark World's strength was extremely terrifying. After all, he was a transcender from the same era as the Chaos Master. Although he had been suppressed for countless years, with the replenishment of the Dark World's origin, his strength was extremely terrifying. Even though Ling Xiao was a transcender and had merged with his 3 bodies, he still felt a strong threat in front of the Lord of the Dark World. However, Ling Xiao didn't feel the slightest bit of fear. Instead, his eyes surged with a strong desire to fight. Chaotic light rose from his body and the Dominator's fist suppressed everything. He continuously attacked the Lord of the Dark World. Rumble. The void shook violently. Ling Xiao and the Lord of Dark World were like a ball of chaotic light and a ball of dark light colliding. Every strike could destroy heaven and earth. Their auras were terrifying to the extreme. The figures of Ling Xiao and the Lord of Dark World seemed to have become incomparably distorted. It was impossible to see their traces clearly. However, the ripples of the great battle that swept out shocked the Reincarnation Emperor. Although Ling Xiao has merged with his 3 bodies, it is still impossible for him to defeat the Lord of the Dark World. Unless he can completely fuse with the myriad Tao Golden Core. The Samsara Emperor's eyes were filled with deep worry. However, he also understood that it was almost impossible to completely fuse with the myriad Tao Golden Core at this moment. In the eyes of the Samsara Emperor, Ling Xiao's choice was almost stupid. Could it be that he has other plans? The Samsara Emperor thought to himself. He knew that Ling Xiao was not an impulsive person. Although he came to the Dark World because of Shui Wei, he would not recklessly start a war with the Lord of the Dark World without any assurance. Now that Ling Xiao and the Lord of the Dark World had unleashed their strongest combat strength, even the Samsara Emperor could not intervene. However, the Samsara Emperor could still see that Ling Xiao was at a disadvantage. Rumble. Black light surged violently. An earth-shattering palm came across the sky. It instantly pierced through the layers of chaotic light and hit Ling Xiao's chest directly. Ling Xiao's body shook violently and cracks appeared on his body. In the face of the Lord of the Dark World's invincible palm print that could suppress everything, he seemed to be about to collapse at any time. However, in Ling Xiao's body, the myriad Tao Golden Core shone with eternal light. Streaks of starlight merged into Ling Xiao's body continuously, allowing his physical body to recover rapidly. The starlight was extremely unique and contained the power of the Great Tao origin. In order to completely fuse with the myriad Tao Golden Core, one had to understand the 3000 Great Tao origin and combine the Great Tao into one to obtain invincible strength. The power of the Lord of the Dark World was pure dark energy. Although it would cause terrifying damage to Ling Xiao's physical body, the dark energy seemed to be able to be absorbed by the myriad Tao Golden Core, allowing Ling Xiao to speed up the process of refining the myriad Tao Golden Core. Therefore, although Ling Xiao was severely injured, his aura did not weaken at all. Instead, it began to surge crazily. Unparalleled fist prints continued to attack the Lord of the Dark World. You want to borrow my power to fuse with the myriad Tao Golden Core? You are courting death. The Lord of the Dark World's eyes turned cold as he said coldly, "Rumble." The boundless dark energy in his body, accompanied by his powerful attacks, continued to surge into the myriad Tao Golden Core in Ling Xiao's body. He saw through Ling Xiao's plan at a glance but did not stop him. Instead, he unleashed an even more violent attack, wanting to destroy the myriad Tao Golden Core and kill Ling Xiao. As a transcendental being, the Lord of the Dark World knew that the myriad Tao Golden Core was extremely fragile. Ling Xiao's actions were no different from pulling chestnuts out of the fire. If the myriad Tao Golden Core collapsed, Ling Xiao would be instantly devoured and severely injured. Boom! The surging dark energy continued to surge into Ling Xiao's body. The myriad Tao Golden Core was originally dazzling with golden light, but at this moment, it seemed to have been infected by the dark energy. It became pitch black and even showed signs of being assimilated by the dark energy. The Lord of the Dark World's palm surged with black light, as if a mysterious ancient rune had appeared. In an instant, it rushed towards the myriad Tao Golden Core in Ling Xiao's body. Destruction rune, all spells return to ruins. The obscure syllables rang out from the Lord of the Dark World's mouth. The ancient rune was distorted and contained the pure dark energy origin. In an instant, it was imprinted on Ling Xiao's chest and rushed towards the myriad Tao Golden Core as if it had a mind of its own. Buzz. The myriad Tao Golden Core buzzed and trembled. Strange black runes appeared on its surface and an incomparably violent energy erupted from it, as if it was about to collapse at any time. At this moment, the corner of Ling Xiao's mouth curled into a cold smile. Explode! He suddenly roared. In an instant, the sovereign's fist bloomed with the radiance of the sun and collided with the Lord of the Dark World. At the same time, the myriad Tao Golden Core in Ling Xiao's body spewed out a dazzling golden light. The black dark energy and the golden positive energy collided and a terrifying aura erupted. Rumble! The entire dark world seemed to tremble violently at this moment. Dazzling light bloomed above the Golden Mountain and instantly swept across the void within a radius of 100 million miles. Even the Reincarnation Emperor could not help but change his expression. He was affected by the terrifying power and his body shook violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was severely injured in an instant. Ling Xiao, he actually blew up the myriad Tao Golden Core again? The Reincarnation Emperor trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. When Ling Xiao was going through the reincarnation tribulation, he had blown up the myriad Tao Golden Core and severely injured the Scarlet Dragon God of War and the Chaotic Emperor. However, that was a flawed myriad Tao Golden Core. It needed to be broken and reconstructed to form a flawless myriad Tao Golden Core. The flawless myriad Tao Golden Core was the source of Ling Xiao's power. Once it was completely destroyed, Ling Xiao's Dao Foundation would be damaged and he would be severely injured in an instant. Why did he choose to blow up the myriad Tao Golden Core at this moment? No, he did not blow up the myriad Tao Golden Core. That is, the power of the untainted world and the dark world. How is this possible? The Reincarnation Emperor opened his eyes wide and his eyes were filled with disbelief. In the dazzling light, black mist rose. However, the myriad Tao Golden Core, which was formed by the intertwining of yin and yang, was half dark energy and half origin of the great ways of the untainted world. One black and one gold intertwined and formed a mysterious balance. The myriad Tao Golden Core spewed out a beam of golden light and a beam of black light and merged into Ling Xiao's body. This made Ling Xiao's aura even more terrifying and unfathomable. At this moment, the Reincarnation Emperor felt that the aura in Ling Xiao's body was extremely similar to that of the Lord of the Dark World. Impossible! You are a creature from the untainted world. How can you comprehend the origin of dark energy? The dazzling light dissipated and the Lord of the Dark World looked extremely miserable. His hair was disheveled and he was coughing up blood. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The terrifying power that Ling Xiao had just released contained the power of the untainted world and the power of the dark world. This made the Lord of the Dark World panic involuntarily. You don't understand what it means to merge three bodies. Moreover, the untainted world and the dark world are originally one. Why can't I comprehend the origin of dark energy? Ling Xiao looked extremely calm as he stared deeply at the Lord of the Dark World. He was indeed using the Lord of the Dark World just now. However, he was not using the Lord of the Dark World to merge with the myriad Tao Golden Core. Instead, he was using it to devour the origin of dark energy and allow the myriad Tao Golden Core to transform completely. Only by merging with the origin of dark energy would the myriad Tao Golden Core be truly perfect and flawless. This was also the secret that Ling Xiao had obtained from the future self after merging with it. The current Ling Xiao was truly a transcendent. Moreover, who told you that the myriad Tao Golden Core is difficult to merge? That's only because you merged with the incomplete myriad Tao Golden Core. A perfect myriad Tao Golden Core is the foundation of transcendence, the cornerstone of the great Tao. Why do you need to merge with it? Ling Xiao said indifferently as he walked towards the Lord of the Dark World. The black and gold myriad Tao Golden Core became more and more blurry. In the end, it completely merged with Ling Xiao and disappeared. Ling Xiao's aura also became ethereal and transcendent. He walked towards the Lord of the Dark World. It was as if there was an invisible force that suppressed the Lord of the Dark World. What? The Lord of the Dark World's expression suddenly changed. From Ling Xiao's body, he could feel a sense of fatal danger. Chapter 3381. Ling Xiao had been scheming against the Lord of the Dark World since the beginning. After Ling Xiao had passed the Transcendence Tribulation and merged the three bodies, he had sensed the existence of the Lord of the Dark World and understood many secrets. For the past 108 eras, there had been many great emperors. Besides those who had died in the War of the Great Emperors, many of them had died because the Lord of the Dark World had plundered their origins. The Lord of the Dark World also understood that only when the origins of the Eldritch World and the Dark World had merged could he be considered to have truly transcended. Therefore, he had been plundering the Tao fruits and great Tao origins of the great emperors for countless years in order to become the true master of the Eldritch World and the Dark World. At the same time, Shui Wei had been brought to the Lord of the Dark World by the Reincarnation Emperor. Ling Xiao had come to the Dark World to fight against the Lord of the Dark World. As expected, the Lord of the Dark World had underestimated Ling Xiao, who had just attained Tao Transcendence. As a result, Ling Xiao had taken advantage of the situation and lost a large amount of Dark World's origin energy for nothing. Now, Ling Xiao had truly transcended. Although there was no vision of heaven and earth, the aura that Ling Xiao exuded made the Lord of the Dark World feel extremely dangerous. Rumble! Heaven and earth shook. In the Dark World, mist rose and dark energy surged. The vast power of heaven and earth seemed to have gathered on Ling Xiao's body and pressed down on the Lord of the Dark World. It was a strange feeling. After all, he was the master of the Dark World. He was the true master of the Dark World. However, Ling Xiao had taken the initiative. He controlled the universe and charged towards him. Ling Xiao threw out a punch and the fist print was surrounded by chaotic light. It was black and gold, as if the yin and yang qi were circulating. It also seemed to have evolved into an ancient world in the chaos and shrouded the Lord of the Dark World. The Lord of the Dark World's eyes narrowed and he instantly unleashed a powerful great Tao origin. Black light rose around him and the origin energy intertwined, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. He threw a punch at Ling Xiao. Boom! Heaven and earth shook violently. The Lord of the Dark World's fist print was quickly annihilated. He was shrouded in a vast ancient world. Fist prints pressed down from all directions, containing the power of the world's life and death and the universe's destruction. This kind of power gave the Dark Realm Lord an illusion. It was as if he had become a small boat in the middle of a raging sea. He felt a strong sense of powerlessness in his heart. Boom! 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 The light of primal chaos shattered as the fist imprint swept out. The body of the Dark World Lord trembled violently. Although he did his best to resist, he still suffered an unimaginable injury in an instant. He was directly sent flying out of the ancient world. His entire body was stained with blood, and his aura was somewhat withered. How is this possible? The Lord of Dark World's eyes were filled with shock. He had never thought that Ling Xiao would be able to unleash a battle prowess that could crush him. Such a terrifying power seemed to even surpass that of the Chaos Master back then, causing the Lord of the Dark World to start panicking in his heart. Gotcha. Ling Xiao's face was indifferent. Chaotic lightning rose around him. His black hair fluttered and his white robe was whiter than snow. He looked like the eternal ruler of the universe. He was surrounded by an invincible and unparalleled aura. It seemed like the four extremes of heaven and earth were under his feet. After severely injuring the Lord of the Dark World with one punch, he did not stop and threw out another punch. This punch seemed to have penetrated the past, present, and future. The long river of time was completely annihilated by this punch. The universe was about to fall into a state of destruction. The Lord of the Dark World still could not avoid it. In fact, a battle between transcendents was thousands of times more terrifying than a battle between emperors. If it was in the endless chaos, it could easily cost the life and death of a world. It was not difficult to break through several worlds in a great battle. This was also because Ling Xiao and the Dark World Master had restrained themselves and restrained their energy fluctuations. They did not want to destroy the Dark World. Otherwise, the entire Dark World would have been destroyed in this battle. Even so, when they felt the terrifying ripples from the battle between Ling Xiao and the Lord of Dark World, all the living beings in the Lord of Dark World felt as if they were facing a great enemy. They felt a fear that came from the depths of their souls. They all trembled and prostrated themselves on the ground. The Lord of the Dark World's Dark World looked terrible. A light flashed in his palm and a black halberd appeared. There were dark red bloodstains on it and it emitted a powerful aura. The Dark Royal Halberd. This was the life treasure that the Lord of the Dark World had collected from the chaos. He had used his own origin to cultivate it. In terms of power, it was not weaker than a chaos treasure at its peak. It might even be stronger. Ling Xiao had forced him to use the Dark Royal Halberd. This showed how much pressure Ling Xiao was exerting on him. Rumble. The Dark Royal Halberd was like a dark demonic dragon. It crossed the sky and emitted boundless killing intent. It caused the surrounding sky to tremble violently. It went straight for Ling Xiao's fist radiance. In the void, it was as if a sun had exploded. Dazzling light swept across the western void. The Dark Royal Halberd vibrated violently. The Lord of the Dark World who was holding the Dark Royal Halberd felt his arm go numb. The Dark Royal Halberd almost flew out of his hand. Kill! The Lord of the Dark World's Dark World revealed a trace of madness. The Dark Royal Halberd was pushed to the extreme by him. The surrounding chaotic void looked as if the Dark World was going to be completely shattered by the Dark Royal Halberd. Although Ling Xiao and the Lord of the Dark World were fighting in the sky above the Dark World, it still had a great impact on the Dark World. Dark World violently trembled. Huge divine mountains collapsed one after another, and the earth cracked open. An incomparably terrifying aura swept out in all directions. Even many weak creatures of Dark World directly exploded, and their souls scattered and died. The Lord of the Dark World was completely mad. In order to defeat Ling Xiao, he did not care about the safety of the Dark World. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao with the Dark Royal Halberd. Boom, boom, boom. Ling Xiao's fist prints exploded in the chaotic void again and again. Every punch contained the power to split the heavens and earth. Although the Dark Royal Halberd increased the Lord of the Dark World's combat strength, he was still no match for Ling Xiao. He was still at a disadvantage. After dozens of rounds, the Dark Royal Halberd flew out of his hand. The Lord of the Dark World spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Ling Xiao stepped forward. The origin energy around him surged. His 5 fingers pointed to the sky. Divine chains of order circled around him. In an instant, a huge palm print came crashing down on the Lord of the Dark World. Ling Zhao's 5 fingers seemed to have turned into 5 pillars that supported the sky. The 5 elements' power grew and multiplied between them. He wanted to imprison the Lord of the Dark World. The Dark Realm Lord's expression changed abruptly. A blood-red light rose from his palm. In an instant, a blood-red ball of light appeared. In the blood-red ball of light, there was a mysterious little tree. There were 3,000 blood-red Dao fruits on it. Each Dao fruit seemed to be a great emperor. The majestic essence of flesh and blood and the power of primordial spirit nourished the little tree. The branches seemed to be able to connect the heavens. The terrifying aura fluctuated, causing the surrounding sky to tremble violently. Ling Xiao, I will remember you. When I return from the void world, I will kill you. The Lord of the Dark World looked pained. He then waved his hand and the blood-red ball of light flew toward Ling Xiao. Then he fled into the distance without looking back. Seeing that he was no match for Ling Xiao, the Lord of the Dark World chose to escape. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He felt a strong threat from the blood-red ball of light. Boom! He punched out. The unparalleled fist print enveloped the heavens and the earth. He wanted to shatter the blood-red ball of light. However, the blood-red ball of light trembled slightly in the void. It seemed to have avoided Ling Xiao's punch and then bloomed in the void. It was like a blood-red petal blooming, flashing with a demonic light. The blood-red little tree suddenly grew in the void. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a towering tree that was hundreds of millions of feet tall. The space all around seemed to have been solidified by the bloody light. Even Ling Xiao felt a great pressure. Then, one after another, blood-colored fruits of the way fell from the towering tree towards Ling Xiao. They were like blood-colored divine lightning, twisting the void and annihilating everything. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. A golden sword light bloomed from his palm and slashed toward the blood-red divine lightning. The lightning bloomed and collided with the sword light. At the same time, they were annihilated. However, the 3,000 blood-red divine lightning contained the ultimate killing intent that could destroy everything. It seemed that there were vengeful spirits among them that pounced toward Ling Xiao. Damn it! These are the vengeful spirits of 3,000 great emperors. Ling Xiao's body shook. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He could see that the vengeful spirits were formed by the lingering thoughts of the great emperors after their deaths. The blood-red tree was nourished by the blood, flesh and primordial spirits of at least 3,000 great emperors. They were all great emperors from the untainted world. Ling Xiao saw the boundless killing intent and endless blood-red light from it. No wonder there were no great emperors in the untainted world for countless years and eras. It turned out that most of the great emperors were treated like pigs by the Lord of the Dark World and became fertilizer for the blood-red little tree. Rumble! In the next moment, Ling Xiao was enveloped by the endless blood-red lightning. The blood-red light spread out like an ocean, as if it had enveloped the entire dark world. All the creatures in the dark world could see a vast sea of blood surging above the 9 heavens. At the same time, an ancient blood-red tree connected heaven and earth. There seemed to be countless figures with terrifying auras sitting on it. Great Tao Emperor Soul Tree. Damn it, the Lord of the Dark World deserves to die. The Reincarnation Emperor's eyes were filled with hatred. The great Tao Emperor Soul Tree was nourished by the blood, flesh and primordial spirits of thousands of great emperors from the untainted world. If Ling Xiao had not forced him to the extreme, the Lord of the Dark World would not have been willing to give up the great Tao Emperor Soul Tree. This was the Lord of the Dark World's final killing move. It was also what he relied on to merge with the origin of the untainted world and become the Lord of the 2 worlds. The Reincarnation Emperor knew how terrifying the great Tao Emperor Soul Tree was. It was an existence that even transcendence would turn pale at the mention of. It could destroy 3,000 origin of the great Tao. Could Ling Xiao really withstand it? The Samsara Emperor's eyes also revealed a hint of worry. Chapter 3382. Rumble. The blood-red lightning surged like an immemorial sacred mountain. The terrifying aura it contained made the great emperors feel numb. The reincarnation emperor stared at the blood-red ancient tree in the void. The blood-red lightning lasted for a long time before it was extinguished. Blazing golden light bloomed like a huge light pillar that reached the heavens and the earth. It collided with the Great Path Emperor Soul Tree in an instant. The Great Path Emperor Soul Tree cracked inch by inch. It then started to be annihilated and turned into ashes. Ling Xiao stepped out of the blood-red lightning. He was surrounded by dazzling golden light. He used the life-reversing skill to devour the blood-red light and evil aura in the sky to dissolve the resentment of the great emperor vengeful spirits. I will kill the Lord of Dark World. All of you, rest in peace. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. The golden light around him was dazzling and holy. It seemed to contain the aura of destiny and the power of cause and effect. Finally, reincarnation appeared and everything returned to chaos. The vengeful emperor vengeful spirits seemed to understand Ling Xiao's words. Their faces, which had been filled with hatred, gradually calmed down. They bowed slightly to Ling Xiao before disappearing into the dazzling golden clouds. His true spirit had already dissipated. All that was left was his obsession. Although he had suffered the destructive attack of the Great Path Emperor Soul Tree, Ling Xiao did not seem to be injured. Instead, he had dissolved the great emperor vengeful spirits. The Lord of Dark World had escaped. Ling Xiao knew that he must be in the void world. The blood-red light dissipated and the entire dark world returned to its gray state. Black mist rose in the surroundings, but it did not dare to get close to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao floated down from the void and came before the reincarnation emperor. Ling Xiao, I did not expect you to come this far. The reincarnation emperor said slowly as he looked deeply at Ling Xiao. He had chosen to suppress the Lord of Dark World alone and even put Shui Wei in danger because he knew that Ling Xiao had just attained Dao transcendence. His strength had not reached its peak and he was no match for the Lord of Dark World. However, he had underestimated Ling Xiao's combat strength. If Ling Xiao hadn't come to the Dark World this time, he, Shui Wei, and Luo Luo would have been in danger. After all, the combat power that the Master of Dark World had displayed had exceeded the Reincarnation Emperor's expectations. Senior, I deeply admire you for suppressing the Dark Realm's passageway for so many eras. However, Shui Wei is my wife. I don't wish for her to be in danger. Ling Xiao said seriously to the Samsara Emperor. This time it's my fault. However, since you've defeated the Dark Realm Lord, you're already the strongest person in both realms. But there's still one thing we have to guard against. The Samsara Emperor smiled bitterly and nodded. You mean the Void World? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. That's right. The Samsara Emperor nodded with a strange light in his eyes. The Void World is a mysterious place. That was the place where all worlds returned to ruins, the place where the universe was born and destroyed in the chaos. Therefore, no matter how many fortunes there are in the Void World, it's not an exaggeration. In the Void World, the most precious thing is the opportunity to reconstruct the reincarnation cycle. Every time the Void World opens, countless transcendents fight for it the most fiercely. Obtaining it can reconstruct the reincarnation cycle of a world and make it eternal. However, in addition to the opportunity to reconstruct the reincarnation cycle, there are many unfathomable fortunes. For example, the transcendence fortunes, the powerful chaos treasures, and even the murderous items that can destroy a world. The 10 chaos treasures were obtained by the Chaos Lord in the Void World. The infinite demonic armor is also a treasure from the Void World. Therefore, if the Dark Realm Lord obtains a great fortune in the Void World, or even the opportunity to reconstruct the reincarnation cycle, you'll be in danger. Therefore, you have to go to the Void World as soon as possible, and kill him if possible. The Samsara Emperor's expression was extremely solemn and dignified. The 10 chaos treasures and the infinite demonic armor all came from the Void World? I'm getting more and more curious about the ultimate land of myriad worlds. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up as he spoke slowly. The Netherworld ship could have gone directly to the Void World, but you've been delayed for a while in the Dark Realm. Presumably, someone from the Chaos World has already boarded the Netherworld ship to the Void World. The most likely person is the weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book. However, since you've already transcended, it won't be difficult for you to cross the Chaos Sea. With your current cultivation, it won't be difficult for you to find the Void World. Before you go to the Void World, I have something for you. Perhaps it can help you find the opportunity to reconstruct the reincarnation cycle. The Samsara Emperor said slowly. With a flip of his palm, chaotic light suffused his palm, and a chaotic green lotus appeared. There were 36 grades of it, and it looked sparkling and translucent. It was otherworldly, and it emitted an extremely mysterious aura. At the same time, the Samsara Emperor waved his sleeve and a figure walked out of the Samsara Emperor's body. It was a handsome and elegant young man in a green robe. His whole body was covered in a chaotic luster, and there seemed to be a mysterious connection between him and the chaotic green lotus. "Greetings, Master." The young man bowed to the Samsara Emperor. "Emperor Qing." Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, revealing a trace of surprise. He was very familiar with this young man. He had seen him in the War God Plain. It was Emperor Qing. He had not expected Emperor Qing to be the disciple of the Samsara Emperor. Moreover, Ling Zhao's eyes lingered on Emperor Qing and the chaotic green lotus. He sensed the strange connection between them and had a vague guess in his heart. "That's right. Emperor Qing is my disciple. Even Luoluo doesn't know this. This chaotic green lotus is his original body. It is also a treasure that I obtained from the Void World. Later on, it transformed and became my disciple. His genuine spirit was reincarnated like Shuewei and Luoluo. I even hoped that he could embark on the path of 10,000 Daos as one and become a transcendent. However, it seems that only you can become a transcendent. However, Emperor Qing was born in the Void World, so he has a certain understanding of the Void World and can sense the opportunity to reconstruct the reincarnation cycle. If you bring him to the Void World this time, he may be of help." The Samsara Emperor seemed to have seen the doubt in Ling Zhao's eyes and explained. "I see." Ling Zhao nodded and said, "Emperor Qing was the chaotic green lotus?" This 36-grade chaotic green lotus was obviously not an ordinary item. Judging from its grade, it was probably a chaotic treasure. Ling Zhao had not expected the Samsara Emperor to have been to the Void World. One more thing. The Green Lotus Emperor of the human clan is Emperor Qing's previous incarnation, the Samsara Emperor said, which solved another doubt in Ling Zhao's heart. "Senior, since you have been to the Void World, don't you plan to go with me this time?" Ling Zhao asked aloud. "Although my strength is not bad, I am still at the bottom of the Void World. There are many transcendents there. If I go with you, I will only distract you. I will stay and look after the untainted world and the dark world. I hope that you can return soon and reconstruct the reincarnation cycle so that this world can completely transcend." The Samsara Emperor smiled faintly with deep expectations in his eyes. His lifelong wish was to reconstruct the reincarnation cycle so that this world could completely transcend. For this, he had even given up the chance to transcend and was willing to pave the way for the future generations. In the darkness, he had suppressed the two worlds for more than 100 eras and spent countless lonely years. If it was not for his unfulfilled wish, who could bear it? Ling Zhao couldn't help but respect the Reincarnation Emperor. "Senior, don't worry. I will definitely reconstruct the reincarnation cycle so that all living beings in this world can transcend immortality." Ling Zhao said seriously, "I believe in you. My task is done. I'm going to see my 2 daughters. You don't have to worry about my grandson. He still has the innate reincarnation power." Once he is born, his innate reincarnation body will shock the world. It will not be weaker than Shangxing's innate chaotic body. The Reincarnation Emperor smiled at Ling Zhao. Then, he waved his sleeves and flew into the distance in a carefree manner. The Samsara Emperor seemed to have unloaded a heavy burden. He felt much more relaxed. However, Ling Zhao also saw that the Samsara Emperor's back had become much older. Ling Xiao bowed respectfully at the Samsara Emperor's back. The Reincarnation Emperor accepted this bow. Ling Xiao, the world has changed. I didn't expect that when we meet again, you have already transcended. This time, I will do my best to help you in your journey to the void world. The Qing Emperor looked at Ling Xiao seriously and said with a faint smile. Thank you. Ling Xiao said with a nod. In the Eldritch world, there was the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, the Flowing Time Emperor, and the Samsara Emperor to protect him. Ling Xiao had nothing to worry about. His most important goal now was to go to the void world and seize the opportunity to reconstruct the reincarnation cycle. Swoosh! The Qing Emperor's body flashed and turned into a ray of green light that merged into the chaotic green lotus. Ling Xiao waved his sleeves and kept the chaotic green lotus. Then, he took a step forward and appeared in the endless chaotic void. Under his feet was the boundless Eldritch world and dark world. In front of him was the boundless Chaos Sea. The Chaos Sea was boundless and no one could say for sure how big it was. Even great emperors rarely ventured deep into the Chaos Sea. If they got lost in it, even great emperors were in danger of dying. Only a true transcendent expert could travel freely and explore the mysteries of the Chaos Sea without fear. The Chaos Sea was the origin of the myriad worlds. Ancient universes were born in the Chaos Sea and there were countless universes in the Chaos Sea. Compared to the vast Chaos Sea, the Eldritch world and Dark world were just remote places. Now Ling Xiao was going to a very special place in the Chaos Sea. The Void World. It was the ultimate place of the myriad worlds and also a place of good fortune. It represented death, but also gave birth to vitality and hope. Ling Xiao's eyes were deep as if he could see through the endless Chaos Sea and see a mysterious unknown place. Then, he leaped up and rushed into the Chaos Sea like a bolt of lightning. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.